Chapter 131. Let them sweat? Sighing to herself, Sasha flips through the sensory information options, from auditory, which deafens her from the intensity, to thermal, which seemed to surprise Judy by how accurate it was. Never seen a BD chip that could capture single-digit temperature changes. Where'd you get it, Ori? Might try using it for my own stuff. A prototype I found. Don't bother looking for it as I found nothing about it, he states before refocusing on the sim. Hey Sasha, that runner's body look weird to you? Sasha quirks a mental brow and looks closer, finding a temperature disparity under their clothes. Yeah, either they had their arms stuffed in ice before following you, or they got a cybernetic arm. Check their head too. Can't see their face, but they're overclocking their RAM. Judy points out, revealing the netrunner's head being a good degree hotter than it should be. That's probably why they ran. Another quick hack and they'd be cooking their brain. Sasha remarks. So, we got a newbie netrunner with a chrome right arm. Not much to go off of. Ori sighs. Maybe we missed something? Sasha questions, quickly going through the BD a couple times, trying to find any other clues. 10 minutes of this pass with no luck. They were still just as clueless as earlier. Maybe I should go back to the station and wait for another attack? With you there at backup, I'll probably not die. Why were you even at the station in the first place? Judy inquires. I was visiting someone in the med center. Don't worry about it. Wait, did we check their shoes? Sasha suddenly interjects, looking down at the boring-looking footwear. What about M? Ori scoffs. Think we'll find their business card stuck to the bottom? No, wait, she's got a point. Judy mutters, leaning closer to the screen. Hey, these are Markish customs. Preem limited edition sneakers. Every single set is unique. I tried to get some last month, but the line was too long. But by the time it reached halfway, they sold out. And? Ori asks, not seeing how this could help. And there's only one place they sell them. A back alley in Haywood where only those in the know. You get me? All I'm hearing is, let's visit the shoe shop and see if we can find someone who matches the description. That about right? He asks. Sounds like a plan to me. We all done here? Because I'm gonna jack out. Did you have to come with us? Ori asks Judy, who was walking beside them through Haywood. She just wants to buy some new shoes? Sasha jokes, but laughs as Judy flushes slightly. Really? We're hunting an assassin and you're here shopping? Hey, those sneakers are actually really good. Besides, they're not open right now anyway. They only open to release batches of shoes once a month. Judy retorts somewhat heatedly, as if someone had challenged her honor or something. Ori shakes his head. Whatever. This the place? He asks, leaning over to peek through a dirty alleyway. Judy casually steps inside, leading the duo through into a reinforced metal door hidden in a corner, an unlit fluorescent sign with Markish written placed above it. So, do we knock? Dunno. You pay them and they slide your shoes out of that hatch. She points to the small hatch at the bottom of the door. Sasha smiles to herself. Maybe we should call Rebecca? She could probably fit through it. Heh, no. You underestimate how wide her hips are. Ori remarks, grinning. I didn't need to hear that. Whatever, let's just get to it. Ori says, knocking on the door with his fist. Thud thud thud. Thud thud Thursday. What you want? A high-pitched voice shouts from behind the door, and Ori couldn't tell what gender it belonged to. We're just here to ask some questions. We aren't the cops, or any of the gangs, just some regular civvies looking for answers. Ori states. Ask you question. Ori opens his holophone and brings up the screen, holding it up to the door camera. You remember who you sold these to? He asks, showing the assassin's kicks. No. Come on. This guy's trying to flatline us. Ori presses. No. You leave now. Ori lets out an annoyed sigh and turns to the others. Judy, how much do you like this place? Why? Wait, you're not Dash. Gonna break my way inside? Dunno, if it comes to that. I'd rather not give the runner another chance to gimme the insisted suicide service. Judy chews her lip and steps forward, banging on the door again. Hello. Please hear us out. My friend is currently planning on barging in and personally asking you questions. I like your shoes, by the way, she adds, drawing strange looks from Ori and Sasha. We call police. Oh no you don't. Ori growls, drawing bore, the sawed-off shotgun Rebecca made for him, and points it at the lock. Bang. Clank. Strong door? Ori states as he reloads the weapon, readying another shot. Wait. We talk. Bullshit. I'm not waiting around to see if you actually called the cops. We'll talk inside. Bang. Clank. Please don't. We be good. The fuck? Ori mutters, confused at the stranger's words. He shakes his head though, readying another shot. Open the door, or you'll have to buy another one. We do. Click. The sound of multiple latches coming undone sounds out, and after that the door slowly swings open, revealing the room behind it. And boy, was it a strange sight. Around the size of 2 large bedrooms, it had tables attached to the walls with machines presumably to design shoes, all of which seemed incredibly old-fashioned. Sewing machines, physical sketchboards, and other similar things. Most surprisingly were the occupants. All children or young teenagers, most standing in the corners while an 11-year-old boy stands in front of the door. Was that who he was talking to? Man, he's a massive asshole. Chapter 132. Miscommunications. Hi there, Judy sweetly yet awkwardly says, leaning down to reach the young boy's eye level. Can we speak with the person who owns the place? The boy shakes his head. Dad's away right now. Ori nudges Judy. Hey, this looks like a sweatshop. Still want them shoes? He asks, semi-jokingly. She scowls and ignores him. Well, when will Dad be back? The boy shrugs. Dunno. You mind if we wait for him? Ori interjects. I'll order us pizza, he says, causing a few young faces to light up. Really? Sure. We'll eat while we wait for Dad to return, yeah? Yeah. I didn't think places like this still existed. Why make children work when automated machines exist? It's cheaper, more reliable, and faster. Sasha wonders, thoroughly disturbed by this whole thing. Ori just gives a grave nod. We'll find out when the owner gets back. See if we like his explanation. Ori quietly seethes as he watches the children devour the 3 pizzas he'd bought. Roy, aged 8, Sherry, aged 7, Mariana, aged 10, and finally Victor, aged 11. All seemed to be working here almost every day from what the trio had gathered from talking to them. While they didn't look starved, he could see some were not all that happy about things. It was hard to think anything other than something was going on here, despite the lack of evidence. Click. Thankfully, it seems they'd finally get some answers. Hey everyone, I'm back. The large bald man trails off as he spots Ori, Sasha, and Judy. Why, you have some friends over, huh? He choked out, quickly spotting the weapons the trio had on them. Yeah, they got pizza. Ah, that's great. Ori brushes his trousers off and stands, conspicuously shifting 6 revolver in its holster. I think we should talk in private, cool? The man nods. Why yeah, cool. You guys stay put. Watch T.V. or make something if you want, he says, walking to the door and gesturing for Ori and the girls to follow. In the next room, Ori observes him like a hawk as he pulls out a bottle of hard liquor and pours himself a glass, turning and leaning against the table with a sigh. All right, do it. Do what? Sasha asks, confused. The man crooks a brow. You aren't here to kill and rob me? Rob you? No. Kill you? Depends on how you answer our questions. First is what you're doing running a sweatshop. And if all your shoes were made by them, Judy added with a nod, drawing another weird glance from the others. Sweatshop? Is that what it looks like? He shakes his head. It's nothing like that. The kids design and creates the sneakers, and they get almost all of the profit from it, barring what I take to pay for living expenses. He explains. Can they refuse? Sasha probes suspiciously. Again the man nods. They can if they want, but none of them wants to be a burden on the others. They all came from the streets. You lot know how it is out there. It's hell for us. It's worse for kids. I'd take more in if I could, but they're the most I can take without the authorities stepping in, he admits. Wait, so this is some kind of charity? Ori asks, slowly connecting the dots. He wasn't sure how he should feel. He'd actually been kinda excited to shoot a pedophile in the face. Guess this is better though? The man smiles. I do what I can. My name's Charles Juno, by the way. So, you guys aren't gonna shoot me? Ori shakes his head. I'd feel like shit afterwards, so no. We do have some questions for you though. You wouldn't happen to remember who bought these. He opens the screen showing the assassin's shoes. The man rubs his chin and leans in to get a better look. They look like last month's release. He chuckles to himself. Kids bought some more colorful materials on the net and went mad with them. Why were you looking for them, by the way? They're an assassin trying to kill us. Sasha simply says, causing the man's lips to thin. And I'm guessing you're mercenaries? Ori and Sasha nod while Judy shrugs. I work with the Mox. I don't usually do stuff like this. She doesn't usually come out of her dungeon, she means. Ori smirks. Mox, huh? I like what you guys do, even if it doesn't turn out right some of the times. What do you mean? Judy inquires. What do you think happens if a business in your territory refuses to pay protection fees? You think the Mox just leaves them alone? Judy's expression becomes dangerous. They should. Well, they don't burn the place down like the Tiger Claws would, but they don't help either. Threaten people away from the business. Make up stuff like the place being infested with rats. I even saw you guys open an identical-looking food stall next to the original owners. Judy lets out an irritated sigh and rubs the bridge of her nose. Damn it, Q. I'll look into it. Hadn't thought things were operating like that, she admits. Mox being assholes aside, let's talk more about the assassin. Ori adds from the side. I have transaction records, but no way to tell whose is whose. Charles states. Do you have times for them? I do. Then we can line up the times of the transaction with the times of your door camera, if you don't mind? Sasha says. Charles slowly nods. I'm not happy about revealing the personal information of a customer, but I guess I owe you for buying the kids' pizza. He smiles humorously. Oh, by the way, could I have some sneakers? Any will do, if you've got any lying around, Judy asks, prompting a laugh from the others. Chapter 133, Sight to See. So, this is the place you were looking at? Ori asks, standing beside Rebecca as they both look up at the building before them. It didn't look like much, but when compared to the crap shacks in Northside or Pacifica, it was better than nothing. His hunting for the Netrunner assassin is paused, since Sasha needed to investigate the banking information they'd acquired from Charles, which obviously wasn't easy, otherwise Netrunners would be the richest people on the planet. Rebecca nods. I've seen the apartment on the net, but I'd rather check before putting any eddies down. I think you'll like it though. Got it at a major discount, she states. Really? You've got me kinda excited now. Ori half jokes, legitimately interested in seeing the place. Rebecca grins and leads him into the building, up the elevator, and to the second to the last floor of the large tower block. The cleanliness of the hallways and doors of the other apartments only meant good things, even if that was only that the place was regularly cleaned and maintained. Rebecca swipes her hand over the electronic lock and the door clicks open, allowing them to step inside. There, Ori's greeted by maybe the best-looking place he's personally seen. Wide windows with nice furniture, spacious enough for maybe 4 people to live in the full time. Nice kitchen and 2 bathrooms. Place apparently even had 3 bedrooms available. Looks like V's Glen apartment, but only a single floor and smaller. https://i.red.it/wswfq1dcbhi81.jpg. Wow, how much do you say it was? Ori asks, forcing his jaw to not hit the ground. He lived in a small wooden house made by his dad most of his life, and after that, it had been Bat's dingy apartment. This was such a big step up that he was struggling to keep his composure. She smugly folds her arms. It was 20,000, but I got it down to 11. 11,000 a month? How'd you get it so low? Ori asks, completely baffled. Ah, well, it did come with some conditions. She slowly admits, dragging him to one of the bedrooms. The door opens with a hiss, revealing a room covered in police tape, and still somehow dripping with blood and viscera. Did no one bother to clean it? Couldn't they just cover it up and sell it at full price? He squints in confusion. Don't most apartments in Night City have a body count anyway? She shrugs. The guy who owns this place won't touch it, and there ain't no covering it up since it was on the news. It was? What are we doing here for then? I'm not getting framed like some scapegoat again, he says, straightening his back as if getting ready to bolt. Rebecca waves him off. Don't worry about it. It was a while ago, but the dude couldn't sell it since the Voodoo Boys were involved. The Netrunner group? She nods. Yeah. Had a guy go crazy and kill his family. She gestures at the room. No one wants to touch the place, and anyone who would has a better crib anyway. I guess, he mutters, spotting an eyeball next to the nightstand. So, you want it? We probably won't be able to find a better place than this. Ah, before you answer, check this out. She drags him away and towards the window, opening the blinds to reveal the world. It was quite a sight. The apartment was facing north and was directly south of the med center, providing a full view of it. The highway, trains leading to it, and even Kabuki at the side. He could maybe even see Lizzie's bar from it. Not bad, huh? Rebecca remarks. This was on purpose, wasn't it? He asks with a subdued smile. No idea what you mean. You could have picked anywhere else, but you picked here. Whatever. You don't have to say anything. Let's get it. All right. She cheers with low a fist pump. Now come on. Let's buy it before someone else gets their mitts on it. A day after Rebecca and Ori were done getting settled into their new apartment, Quentin called and asked them to come see his race car. Calling it a car would be a big fat lie, however. Yo, Ori greets as he, Rebecca, and Sasha step into the large garage/workshop, finding Quentin already waiting inside with a big grin on his face. Oi. Good to see you. He laughs but pauses when he notices Sasha. He fixes his casual demeanor and almost falls over as he leans against a nearby chair. Ah, you too, Miss Yakovleva. Very macho. Rebecca drawls. I'm sure she's dripping after watching that. He says, prompting a laugh from Ori and an abashed look from Sasha. Quentin coughs and forces down his embarrassment. Sorry, I don't think we've met. Rebecca? Rebecca? He hums in thought, scanning her form for any identification or identifiable features. Ah, you're that psycho Loli the Tigers have been asking about. P.S. Psycho what? What are those fuckers calling me? She angrily exclaims, causing the fixer to flinch at her intensity. Chill out, the kid didn't say it. Sasha states. Doesn't matter. I just don't want to be permanently named Loli whatever. I mean, Ori's stuck as a zombie now, which is bad enough. Don't tell me you've got a nickname I don't know about. Rebecca interrogates Sasha. Sasha shrugs. Not that I know of. People don't usually see me during a gig, not unless I've really screwed up. I guess that's changed since I joined the crew though. Ghost would be a good name, but maybe Rebecca here would suit it better? Quentin adds in a vain attempt to ingratiate himself with them. I might be able to help you along with something you want. Rebecca's face lights up, but quickly falls again. I can't really think of one. Me neither. I think I'm fine being a zombies crew, or whatever people call us. Sasha dismisses. All right, we've socialized enough. Can we look at the car already? Ori pipes in, wanting to get to the point of things. Chapter 134, New Car Smell. All right, we've socialized enough. Can we look at the car already? Right. Quentin mutters, nodding. What did you get anyway? You've been keeping it under wraps for days now. It ain't gonna be like one of those old NASCAR jobs, is it? Covered in fucking corpo stamps? Ugh. I'd rather shoot myself than ride in one of those. Rebecca visibly grimaces. No, nothing like that. Quentin assures, no one wants to be connected with it anyway. Win or lose, having their name or company name on it would be stupid. He says as he walks over to a large light switch. He pulls it, causing a large creak to ring out as the back of the workshop lights up, revealing a large vehicle hidden under a synthetic tarp. I know, it looks sexy as fuck even when covered. He chuckles to himself. It's big. You sure you want us to use it? Something this size can't be all that fast. Ori questions. Quentin just nods, striding over and gripping the tarp. Trust me, even a baby with no limbs could win a race with this thing. With that he pulls the tarp off, revealing the vehicle in all its splendor. Are tanks allowed to race? Rebecca wonders aloud as they all stare at it. It was large, maybe as wide as two sports cars next to each other. It was slightly longer than your average car, and it was maybe 1.5 times as tall. It had 8 heavily reinforced wheels, no visible windows, and was obviously armored to high hell. It was complete with dark red coloring, though Ori wasn't sure if it was paint or just the color of its metal. Like this, but as described, https://kill-zonefandom.fandom.com/wiki/awc-2410_rain?file =awc-2410.jpg. This isn't technically a tank, so yeah. Quentin states, beginning to point at it. Its engine isn't big enough. The weapons aren't classified as military but that's more because the guns are so new that they haven't been fully tested yet. He broadly grins. No treads or jets either. Slap on some indicators, and it's civilian. That sounds like some S-tier bullshit. You really expect people to let this thing race? Guys driving beat-up pickup trucks and scrap mobiles won't go anywhere near it. Rebecca protests. Quentin just shrugs. I already got the green light for it. Now it's up to your 3 to drive it through the finish line. Don't mind about the others, guys. If they quiet when they see it, that's just fewer competitors. Is it weird that I feel bad? Ori mutters. If you feel bad now, just wait till I show you the rest of it. Quentin states, opening the door and hopping into the driver's seat. Check this out. He calls out, pressing some buttons on the dashboard. Thwip. Panels of metal open up on the sides of the car, revealing large automated machine guns. That ain't all though. Quentin laughs, causing the machine guns to turn backwards, red lasers lighting up as they aim backwards. He proceeds to show them the many other add-ons the car has. Wheels that shoot spikes out to slash the tires of nearby vehicles, a compartment of metal caltrop-like things at the back, and more. To be honest, it was shocking how good the thing was, and Ori was feeling pretty nervous at the prospect of actually driving it, which only got worse when he heard about how much it cost. I think it was somewhere around 100 to 200,000 eddies, Quentin murmured in thought before shrugging. Something like that anyway. T200? Ori squeaks, cupping his mouth to stop himself. And you want me to drive it? Are you mad? Ori, it isn't like we're giving it to you. Just think of it as a business vehicle or something. A business vehicle I'm going to be crashing into cars, people, lampposts, and whatever else gets in the way. Is it insured? Does insurance cover bullet marks? Quentin snorts. Insurance? You think anyone going to insure a car this expensive headed into a death race?
Hell no.
Try not to get too attached to it either, cause we're stripping it and selling its parts once you win the race. Try and get some eddies back on it. Ori takes a moment to breathe, calming himself as he turns to the others. What do you guys think? I think we're biting off more than we can chew. Sasha admits with a light shrug. Well, I think you two are being pussies. We could have won the race in that piece of shit Ori used to have. With this thing, though, it's already over. Rebecca states. That's the spirit. Quentin laughs. Oh, by the way, before you take it out for a spin, a few warnings. Don't take it anywhere near City Central, Westbrook, Pacifica, etc. The police or any gang see this thing, they're gonna shoot at it. No questions asked. So keep it in the desert of Santo Domingo, cool? Ori nods. Yeah. Would be funny to see the look on the suits' faces if we drove it through the Corpo Plaza though. All guns deployed. Quentin shudders. Don't joke about that. Trust me, you may have gotten off easy after that Biotechnica gig. But they aren't fooling around anymore. The Tiger Claws have abandoned the place. And you know what happened the other day? Two rivaling guys tried to have a gunfight, but ended up getting obliterated by the spec'd-up security systems. Got a video of that? Might want to check it out later. Rebecca asks, drawing a sigh from him. Just check the net, probably won't be hard to find. Anyway, I left some notes on what the thing can do in the back seats. I've got a dinner with some acquaintances, so get familiar with it, drive it around, and get ready for the race in 3 days. It's one of the 2 qualifiers, so be there. Chapter 105, Aid for Hire. Unfortunately for Ori, Susie Q outright refused to help, proclaiming the mission as stupid, reckless, and bound to get everyone involved killed. Judy offered to help where she could, but that was more or less negligible with how things were. He'd looked into the files Rogue had sent him, and the situation was looking direr the time passed. The lowest estimate of the Tiger Claws in the building was around 50, probably more. This was even worse when you consider that Tiger Claw enforcements were literally next door. It wouldn't take long for triple that number to barge in and shoot the fuck out of Ori and his crew. The building itself was a front, an erotic shop selling sex toys and other things related to it. It was designed around the theme of BDSM, allowing the Tigers to put metal bars and chains over every window and reinforce every entrance. On the floors second and up was where the real biz was happening. All the Tigers were centered above the store, but Rogue didn't have much intel on what exactly went on there. Ori could guess, however, given that cat had been sold by that piece of shit doll techie. It made his blood boil just thinking about it. Ori was leaning towards a stealth operation, given how vastly outnumbered they were. But they needed something to fall back on if they were caught. Six wasn't suited to sneaking around, so he'd be with the backup. As for what the backup was, well, Ori had looked around for anything that'd fill that hole. He'd asked Rogue to find him some mercs to help out, but she refused. Not because she didn't want the money, or didn't want to get involved, but because the operation was so hush-hush. If she asked any merc about the gig and they refused, they'd have a potential leak there. The big people who worked under her couldn't be seen hitting the Tiger Claws, not without starting a big-ass gang war and throwing her from her comfortable spot of neutrality. After that, he'd intended to ask Quentin about it. Until Rebecca came forward and recommended Kiwi again, along with her crew. Ori was less than happy to accept that not only would he be putting Rebecca in danger, but also her brother. That shit hit too close to home. Unfortunately, she didn't give him a choice on whether to accept or not. She simply dragged Maine and his crew along during their next debrief. Ori sighed silently to himself as he glared at the holographic map sitting atop Six's table, his garage providing a suitable hideout. Six was taking apart and looking over his revolvers for the nth time today, while Sasha leaned back in her chair chewing bubblegum and attempting to find out more about the Tiger Claw locale. Ori, you haven't said so much as a full sentence for days. Have you even been eating right? Sasha questions as she exits the net with a tired huff. I'm fine, he idly states, having repeated the same phrase every time someone asked that annoying question. Are you all right? You're not really though, are you? Otherwise you would have noticed that we've been here for an hour and Rebecca still isn't here, she retorts, causing him to blink at her. Ah. He checks the time and blinks once more as he confirms it. Oh. He groans, realizing what she is doing. The trio have their attention drawn as the garage doors slowly open, allowing sunlight in and revealing a number of figures, looking like black silhouettes against the light. Yo, I'm here with backup, Rebecca exclaims as she smugly strides inside, plopping herself in Ori's lap as he continues staring at the group she'd brought. He recognized most of them. I told you this already, didn't I? Get your mitts off of my sis, ya punk. Pilar shouts, going to prod at Ori's temple, but finds his finger caught in a vice-like grip. Ori glares at him, gripping the metallic digits tightly. I'm not in the mood for this shit. Either sit down or fuck off, he growls. Heh, like you said, kid's got spunk. A large woman almost the same size as Maine chuckled, nudging the big man in his side with an elbow. Pilar swaps his focus from Ori and onto Rebecca. You gonna let your douchey input talk to your brother like that? Rebecca snickers at him. Yeah, I am. I'll help him follow through if you don't listen up too. Pilar, just chill. Maine states, sitting down a bit away from Sasha, kicking his feet up. Becca here says you've got a job for us. Pilar reluctantly sits, Kiwi lighting a cig and taking a spot on his left. Oh, by the way, I've invited A. I suppose you could call her my student. Hope that won't be a problem, she drawls. Considering I didn't even ask for you. Yeah, it might be. Ori mutters, squeezing his brows as Rebecca awkwardly laughs him off. Even if you don't accept this gig, will you guys keep your mouth shut? Maine shrugs, we ain't no rats here. Sides, Becca alright gave us the sitch, not something we can't handle. You told them? Ori angrily asks the girl in his lap. Well yeah, we can trust him. They didn't throw us under the bus after what happened at Biotechnica either, she states. They're good, did a background check on them way before this. Sasha remarks, blowing a bubble with her gum. 6? Ori questions. wanting to hear his opinion. The Merc hadn't been happy when he heard the plan he'd been brewing, but the guy reluctantly accepted it after having it all explained. Don't matter. She's here, Kiwi says as a lithe figure steps into the garage. A cute face with bright, pastel rainbow hair, a cig in her mouth and rather revealing clothes. Though, she had a Netrunner suit under them, meaning the group now had 3 Netrunners present, not something that happens every day. Chapter 136, Unbalanced. Rebecca starts to speak into the microphone inside the car, but can't help but burst into another fit of laughter. Tongue. Ori and Sasha just watch from their own seats as Rebecca forces these bandits to kiss, the 2 naked men uncomfortably shoving their tongues into each other's mouths. Becca, this wasn't what I meant when I said we should go for a drive. Ori mutters, rubbing his forehead in exasperation. Oh, come on. Can you honestly tell me this is not funny? She questions, pointing a finger at the men as they continue to make out. They stop for a second, but Rebecca turns the microphone on again. More. She emphasizes it by revving up the machine guns. Killing them's fine, but this is worse than killing a guy. Ori mutters before looking to Sasha. I'm right, right? Sasha shrugs, and he only now notices the glow in her eyes. Are you recording this? He squeaks, not believing that both of his companions were such perverts. It's going on the net. I'm hoping to make some eddies off of it. I'm not completely perverse, she retorts, continuing to record. Okay, now suck him off. Rebecca orders as one of the men turn and vomit onto the floor. That seemed to be the limit, however, as one of the men reached for his discarded weapon, causing the automated weapons to open fire on both of them, turning them to red mist. You got it out of your system now? 'Cause I want to keep limit testing this thing. Ori asks as Rebecca lets out a satisfied sigh. What's there to test? It kills good, that's all we need to know. I want to see if I can drift it. Ori admits. It's a couple days later and the qualifier finally rolls around. Around 40 to 50 cars of a variety of makes and modifications were already lined up on the road behind spray-painted marks. Hundreds of people were gathered along the sidewalks, behind the barriers that had been erected for this event only. A dozen or so drones hovered over everyone's head, designed to follow the cars as the event progressed, allowing everyone to follow things even from the start line. The atmosphere was boisterous despite the impending death race. The racers were either happily covering with their competitors, getting hyped up on whatever chems they had, or simply drinking as if they weren't about to join one of the most dangerous driving events this century. One man with short black hair and a colorful flight with harness grins as he leans against his car, regaling some fangirls about his past races. Sampson, do you think you're going to win this one as well? One chirps, attempting to be flirtatious despite her apparent excitement. You think I won't? Look around. Most of these junkies can't even start their cars, let alone race them. He steps forwards and stands over the girl. Why don't you and me celebrate my win later? My place. Really dash. She blushes heavily. Don't bother with him. He's probably got enough STIs to rust chrome. Someone snickers as they step out of their vehicle. A large, heavily armored black truck with a pink backpack strapped to its front. Sampson just snorts in response at the large pink-haired man. Dean, nice to see you again. Speaking of STIs though, how's your boyfriend? Fuck off, Peter. Claire Russell growls as she steps out of the passenger seat, flipping him the bird. Sampson holds his hands up defensively. What? My bad. Figured you would have changed back by now. Hey Dean, is it weird that she might have had a bigger cock than you? Shut your mouth, or you'll see more of us in the race. Dean warns with a glare, making a zipping motion with his fingers. Again Sampson snorts, through my rear mirror maybe, if you're lucky. Then again, with this competition, it might just turn into a one-on-one. He turns to his gunner. What do you think of the odds, Keith? The man wearing Kevlar clothes from head to toe just shrugs his shoulders. I dunno. Doesn't look good to me. He gestures behind them all at the parting crowd which was making way for a huge vehicle. What in the goddamn? Dean utters, sunglasses falling off of his face as he stares in shock. They can't be serious. Claire adds breathlessly. The large tank-like vehicle stops at the very back of the other cars, unable to fit into any official space simply due to how wide it is. The doors open wingwards and 3 people step out and begin surveying the competition. I was expecting more. A stark white-skinned girl remarks, a huge shotgun slung over her shoulder. This is the qualifier. Maybe the experienced drivers will show up in the finals. A lithe woman with short black hair, blue eyes, whisker-like marks on her face, and a fashionable pink outfit over a tight Netrunner suit, questions with a tilt of her head. The soul man steps between them, average height but built like a brick shithouse that was easily visible through his brown synth leather jacket and I love samurai shirt underneath it. His short black hair and completely unscratched face would have made him seem older if it weren't for the slightly unkempt patches of teenage fluff on his face. Some of these guys look like they could put up a fight? Yeah, if we raced them on foot. The pale girl snickers, drawing glares from other racers. Hey, Surely there's a rule against bringing military-strength shit? Samson exclaims as he pushes past the fangirls and walks over, pointing an accusatory finger at the trio. It was bad enough with the Russell's goddamn fortress on wheels, but this is really taking the piss. He gesticulates wildly at the tank. Fuck you, Samson. We traded armor for speed, but we're nowhere clear to this thing. Claire counters with a scowl. I think we're all getting off on the wrong foot. Why don't we get to know each other before we start shooting? I'm Ori, by the way. He holds out a friendly hand. Chapter 137. Unfiscal Advantage. Ori. Who? Never heard of you. Samson sneers. You ever raced before? Ori shrugs. No, but I'm sure we'll manage. Right, well, why don't you just come out and tell us who's sponsoring you? No way some new meat can afford something like that. He gestures at the tank. Yeah, which corpo's tit you sucking? We know Samson bends over for Militech, but even he's not this blatant. Claire states. I work for them, everything else I finance myself. Samson mutters in annoyance, tired of the constant remarks about his subservience and reliance on Militech. We work for no one, let alone some corpo asshats, Rebecca responds, folding her arms with a scowl. Just because can't afford to upgrade doesn't mean the same for the rest of us. We can settle shit without the wheels if you want. She grouses, resting a hand on the sling her guts was attached to. Dean raises his hands placatingly. Hold it, this is just good fun. No point gunning each other down outside the race. Besides, if we were supposed to be competing on equal footing, then we'd all have the same ride. He shrugs. There's disparity, then there's irrationality. Claire argues, don't be stupid, Dean. If they brought in an AV, would you be saying the same? No, because no one else is shameless enough to try something like that. Fuck this. Samson sighs, holding his hand up in the air. Ref, you guys really allowing this fucking thing to race? One of the officials at the side of the track blinks a couple times before holding up a finger, turning around and calling someone. See, you guys better find a replacement, or you're not racing. He gestures around. No one here thinks that shit is fair. That's fine. Sasha offers, but you have to trade your car with them. She points at a car with 3 wheels, the 4th rolling down the hill behind them. What? Why? You want it to be fair, right? Why should these people with regular vehicles go up against yours? She presses. It's not the same. No sane person would think that. Ahem. The official from earlier loudly coughs, drawing everyone's attention. After some deliberation, we have found no issue with the vehicle competing. What? That's bullshit. Fuck you. Fuck me. The crowd of racers shout in outrage, but the official just shrugs his shoulders and slinks away, completely uncaring. Ori gives them all a friendly smile. I wish you all luck, he says, walking back towards the tank. Bitches represent. Rebecca smirks, making an I got my eyes on you gesture. And https://www.youtube.com/watchquestionmark v=sign gbxvokv opera &_channel =bubbly Man, let's just hope their ride isn't able to keep with us, I guess. Samson morosely mutters, getting into his own car. Come on, Dead. Let's show these douchebags who rules the roads. If you say so, Claire. Ori buckles himself in and grips the steering wheel as the holographic windows activate, displaying the surroundings with light quality. All right, you girls ready? They nod. What's the first place prize for coming first in a qualifier? Rebecca asks, cocking guts and accessing the aiming systems with a grin on her face. There are prizes for the qualifiers? Ori asks, not having heard that before. Sasha shakes her head. I heard the last death race had that, but these ones won't apparently. Shame. Oh well. Look, it's starting. She points out the colorfully dressed black man stepping next to the starting line with some sort of microphone. Everyone here ready to race. A couple drivers rev their engines. Haha, that's what I like to hear. A choo-choo cheer. Now you all know the rules already, so I won't repeat them. Just know that if you break, you're probably gonna die. Anyway, our guys are sending you the map codes, so follow and shit'll be fine and dandy. Start the fucking race already? One of the drivers shouts, prompting the others to voice their own opinions. Fine. If you want to die so badly, the announcer says, erratically waving his arm. 2 laps. No mercy. 5, 4, 3, 2 dash. Rebecca's grin becomes bloodthirsty as she flips a switch, causing the automated machine guns to reveal themselves from the sides of the tank. This causes the announcer to stumble over his words, but he quickly recovers and continues. 1. Go. Dead or alive. Don't show your face until you win. Ha 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 ha. Asterisk bang 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 bang. Asterisk. Rebecca has the guns immediately open fire on the cars next to them, instantly killing the occupants and forcing the vehicles behind him to swerve around. The trio's tank simply drives through them, however, pushing them past or rolling them over. In a mad dash, every other car screeches down the road, most wanting to get away from them than to actually race. Regardless, their placement at the back and the vehicle's relatively low acceleration speed compared to the lighter competition put them in last place, aside from those they'd already killed. Ori speeds up and inwardly cackles as he spots some cars in front turn and speeds down some side roads, abandoning the race, in an attempt to get out of his line of fire. Those that don't? Well, no need to speak badly of the dead. Bang 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 bang. Thud. Some junkies driving a rusty hatchback slam their car into the side of the tank as the gunner unloads his rifle. The only thing they manage to do, however, is knock one of their own doors off and waste ammunition. Idiots. Rebecca laughs as she shifts the automated gun, sending bullets crashing through their window and into the occupants' backs, causing them to swerve off and crash into a nearby lamppost. I kinda get what that guy was saying now. This is bullshit. Suck it up, we're in it for the eddies, nothing else. Rebecca retorts, eagerly firing at the other cars ahead. Chapter 138. Hare vs. Turtle with Gun. Dean maneuvers his truck to the side as Samson's gunner shoots the tires out of a nearby car, sending it spinning into their path. They barely avoid it and can't help but look through the mirrors as the unfortunate racer collides headfirst with a brick wall, undoubtedly dying or getting crippled. That prick Samson. Claire scowls, leaning out the window and firing her rifle, trying to clip their tires. Their car was fortified enough that any glancing shot on its exterior would do little to nothing, not unless she brought something much bigger. But that, she was keeping that handy in case those newbies with the tank managed to catch up. Just keep calm and aim steady, we're coming up on Hardgreave Street. Use the hard corner to catch him with their window down, he assures. Only if you sideswipe them if we get the chance. Claire grins, leaning back to grab a submachine gun. Technically less accurate, but more if you fire enough lead. Duck, she abruptly shouts, spotting a car pulling up on them. Dean does as he's told, putting his forehead on the wheel as Claire fires over him at the other car. The enemy gunner fires back in response, but she manages to hit his arm, forcing him to drop his weapon onto the road. Huh. Shoot us with what now, bitch? Claire shouts with glee, but her face falls as the guy flips her the bird and grabs what looked like a grenade launcher from the back seat. Shit. Dean hits the brakes hard, causing the grenade to shoot past their car and into the side of a bus station. The structure creaks eerily and soon gives out, dropping in front of some other racers who scramble to avoid it. Most don't, crashing into it at a full 90 mph. Take those psychos out already. Dean urges as the car in front of them slows for another attack. On it. Claire nods, climbing half out of the car and sitting on the window to aim over the roof. With that advantage, she fires a shot that barely misses the driver but hits the base of their steering wheel, knocking something loose. The guy frantically twists the wheel as his car starts to drift off the road, but doesn't have to sense to brake or slow down as they slam headfirst into some pawn shop. Bang! Claire yelps as she feels a bullet enter her side, dropping back into the car as Dean warily glances at her. You all right? Yeah, just keep going. Nothing fatal, she states, stuffing the new wound gauze and wrapping it tightly. The race continues, and they manage to catch up to Samson just before the hard corner. The Militech crony slams his car into the side of another, sending it skittering down a random side road, but he doesn't notice Dean and Claire barreling towards him. Eat lead, you fuck. Claire roars as the truck drifts around the corner, firing Samson as he hurriedly tries to shut his window. Cracks form in it as bullets bounce off, but one manages to hit, striking him in the shoulder. You bitch, he shouts in response, sharply turning his wheels and clipping the back of their truck. Dean almost loses control of the car, but manages to correct their course. He does growl under his breath as Samson's gunner peppers their front windscreen, almost cracking it enough that they couldn't see anything. Wilhelm scream. Boom. Both Dean and Samson look over their shoulders at the racket, quickly spotting the cause. The tank from earlier had just crashed 2 cars off of the road, its machine guns blaring as it gunned down anyone stupid enough to get close to it. Holy shit. It's coming right for us. Dean shouts, slamming the pedal to the floor despite the slight corner they were approaching. Don't worry. I've got something just for it, Claire states, grabbing it and leaning out the window, aiming the rocket launcher at them. She hadn't thought they'd need to use it, but now was as good a time as any. Take this, you damn cheaters. Thwom. Boom. The rocket hits the tank dead on and unleashes a huge explosion that rocks the area, covering everything near in smoke. She was going to breathe a breath of relief at hitting it, but faltered when the tank shot out of the smoke almost completely unharmed. The front bonnet had a slight dent in it along with some SUT, but that was all. The machine guns on it hummed as they aimed at them, lasers targeting them through the back window. Dean hits the brakes hard, almost stopping completely and allowing the tank to zoom past them. In the distance, he could see Samson doing the same, unwilling to die just to qualify for a race. Both drivers look at each other through their windows and give slight nods, acknowledging that the first place was temporarily unavailable. Racing for second was good enough, though. Wait, are we in first place? Ori asks, not seeing any cars in front of them anymore. Looks like it. I didn't even have to do anything. Sasha murmurs to herself. Rebecca leans back in her chair and kicks her feet up onto the dashboard. Just cruise it till the finish line. I wonder if there'll be another qualifier or not. We did kill most of the other racers. Shrugging, Ori does just that, rolling to a stop at the finish line as the spectators boo and berate them. None of the group gave a crap though. As long as they got the money, nothing else mattered. 2 minutes later, the other drivers finally arrived. Samson barely edging out Dean and Claire through the finish line. Haha, how about that, Dean? I told you, you'll always be second place. You're second place right now, you slack-jawed strudel. In case you forgot. Dean spits back, bringing a scowl to Samson's lips. He stomps out of his car and marches towards the tank, as if he were about to start a fistfight with it. Chapter 139. Sanction. Show your face, asshole. Samson shouts as he stops in front of the tank. Scared piece of shit. Ori cracks open the door and pops his head. Don't be a sore loser. It's okay that you came in second. I'm sure your parents would be proud of you. Fuck you. You make a mockery of the sport, and I swear you won't see another fucking race. Samson angrily shouts, wagging a scolding and accusatory finger. Ori just shrugs his shoulders. We qualified. Maybe you'll have a better shot next year, he offers with an insincere smile. You think you're the only person who knows people? Mark my words, you're out. Samson states before getting back in his car and driving off, leaving a trail of smoke. Ori glances over at Dean and Claire, who'd been watching the argument. What about you two? Want to have a crack? Or do you want to hold off until the next race? Claire just sniffs derisively. Screw off, rich boy. There's gold spoons. Then there's you who has a military spec spork. Dean nods. Samson weren't wrong. No one's happy about this. If there aren't changes, we might not even bother to compete. I got no wishes to get gunned down by some big-headed asshole. He shrugs before also leaving. Huh. Whatever, I guess. Ori and the others had just dropped off the tank back at the workshop when he received a call from Quentin, expected given the recent race. Ori, congrats on the win. He greets with a sheepish smile via the hollow call. Thanks, but it was pretty much all the tank. You saw how oppressive that thing was. Quentin rubs the back of his neck. About that, our contacts in the committee got some calls from Militech. Someone decided to have a tantrum and get them involved. That combined with the 5% of the audience asking for refunds forced some changes. Changes that have angered our backers. Let me guess, they're banning the tank? Ori questions, headed to the most obvious answer. Quentin nods. Got it in one. We're lucky though. We still have the chance to back up, refund our bets, whatever else. Of course, we still have the option to continue. You won't have the tank, but I'm sure you'd manage without it, right? Ori just shrugs. Not sure. Again, it wasn't a race but a massacre. Don't be humble right now. I need to know if you want to continue. The reward will be bigger since the odds are against you now. Not one thinks you'll be any good without the tank. Not to mention that the next qualifier got cancelled since you knocked out a bit too many other drivers. Why didn't we start with a crap car first then? Barely get through the qualifiers then pull out the tank at the end? Seems to me like that'd give your backers the best odds. Because you gotta keep one car through the races. Plus, the chance of you not making it through was too big a risk. Not to knock your skills, but it only takes a stray bullet. Quentin states. Yet you're trusting me to win the finals without tank? How's that work? Ori inquires skeptically. Quentin wets his lips. To be honest, our backers still want to go ahead. Some of them have made investments based on winning this. They'd be out some big cash if we stop now. Not to mention the money placed into bets getting cut. They want to give you a chance. Mostly because I convinced him, he admits. Ori sighs. What would I even race in? My current ride ain't fast enough, even if it could shrug off a good amount of damage. I doubt you want to go buy another car, right? Well, someone's offered their Mizutani for the job, even said he'd give it to you if managed to pull of a win. Quentin states, pulling up a picture of the car. It was small, far smaller than his own car, or the tank. Low to the ground like any classic sports car with a lithe shape that would undoubtedly cut through the air like a knife through molten butter. There were some immediate problems Ori could see, however. Like this, https://www.gamesatlas.com/images/optimize/images_cyberpunk2077 vehicles zutani-sharon.webp. That's great, but there's only 2 seats, and I doubt it will last against some vengeful racers. Yeah, but since the next qualifier got cancelled, we'll have enough time to modify it. If you want to race, of course. As for the 2-seat thing, you'll just have to bear with it. Ain't exactly many other options here. If I'm honest, we're lucky you weren't banned with how mad people re-getting. Give me a minute to talk with the others about it. I'll call you back. Got it. Just be quick. We've got a lot to do in a short time. Beep. Ori glances over to the girls who'd been doing their own thing. Sasha watched as Rebecca laboriously cleans the scorch marks, dust, and other debris off of the tank, as if it were her child. Girls, looks like we've been banned from using the tank. What? Not Bessie. Rebecca all but shrieks. Bessie? He parrots. The car. Sasha mutters, massaging her forehead. I get naming it, but only if it's yours. Getting attached like that is stupid. You're stupid. Rebecca childishly responds. Can we just concentrate for a minute? Apparently Quentin's got another car available, something called a Mizutani, looks good but needs some armor. Mizutani is the brand. What's the make? Sasha inquires. Mizutani Cheyenne or something. Ori shrugs, not really a car person. They're nice, but nothing near Bessie. Rebecca remarks as she lays across the tank's bonnet. Obviously, but we gotta decide if we still want to race. The stakes are still high, but the rewards are much higher. I want to do it, but it's up to you. I can't go without a gunner. Chapter 140, Trimester. In the end, Ori did accept to continue the gig. Rebecca would stay as his gunner while Sasha would keep an eye on the audience, make sure no one, especially the assassins, attempted to interfere with the race. This was more important than last since they weren't rolling around in a big-ass tank anymore. All that was needed was a lucky sniper shot and things could be ruined. Fortunately for the group, the cancelled qualifier set the finals a couple weeks back, giving them ample time to modify the Mizutani to be combat-ready. Whether or not that'd be good enough was anyone's guess, however. Ori refused to let this opportunity pass, so he'd elected to have the Nanites start some upgrades. Specifically, upgrades to his nervous system. This was likely the best choice since driving was first decided by skill and planning, then by reaction time. The Nanites gave him many options to go forward with, but he decided that boosting the signal pathways was good enough. The body's electrical signals were generally around 200 to 300 mph, which was fast compared to most things, but added up quickly when introduced to tasks such as thinking or fighting. There was cyberware that enhanced this course, but Ori rejects it for the same reason he'd rejected subdermal armor. Should his nerves receive damage, the Nanites would be unable to repair them, essentially paralyzing him until he managed to uncover the NMN injector, or had a Ripperdoc manually remove the obstruction. While the Nanites had dulled his pain completely during this operation, it didn't stop it from hurting due to the focus being the nerves themselves. The Nanites shredded them at a microscopic level before rebuilding them in a more efficient manner, altering old pathways into new ones. It only took a single night, along with most of his stored fat energy deposits, but afterwards he was feeling pretty fresh, if somewhat uncoordinated. Fresh nerves meant fresh muscle memory, but this was quickly fixed with the Nanites' aid. Before his reaction time was around 1/10 of a second, now, however, somewhere around 100th. That might not seem like much, but it was around 10 times faster than the average person. While not quite matching some of the more powerful cyberware, still a massive advantage. Of course, this also meant that other related things required upgrades too. The Nanites gave his brain a limited upgrade to the centers that translated stimulus, then began to work on his eyes. His optical organs would likely take far longer than the nervous system upgrade. While the eyes wouldn't take as much energy to alter, the Nanites were going through what you might call a trial and testing process. To be more accurate, the machines were attempting to integrate the traits of other animals into them. Flies, cats, hawks, lizards. It would probably take longer than he had for the finals, given the Nanites was working off of outside information and how they thought the organs worked. Ori made sure to keep watch on their progress. He refused to have giant bug eyes, even if they probably were the most effective design. He and Rebecca now spent most of their time racing around in a rented vehicle while the Mizutani got modified, practicing for the upcoming race. This didn't mean time had stopped, however, as Ori learned when he went to visit the ramen stall where his sister worked. He drops onto the skinny seat and leans against the table, looking around to see if his sister was present. Strangely, despite this being around the time she was supposed to work, the only person present was the elderly Japanese man who owned it. You gonna buy something, or just keep staring? The man grouses. Just want to know where Kat is. I was told she'd be working today. The guy shrugs. No idea. Hard to think with business so slow. Fine. 2 bowls of whatever. Now can you tell me? Of course, customer. My recent employee has decided to become a recent not employee. I don't blame her. It's a hard job, not one someone should do while pregnant. Repeat. Repeat what you just said. Ori asks, face frozen with his brows almost reaching his hairline. What? I had to let her go. Women are bad enough during their monthly, let alone pregnant. I do not wish to have my stand destroyed. Pregnant. Pregnant? Ori mutters, as if tasting the word on his lips. Finally, it hits him, his face dropping into one of complete rage. Pregnant? He abruptly shouts before sprinting away in a mad dash. Do you not want the bowls? The stand owner shouts but shrugs at the non-response. No refunds. SCRRR. Ori's truck screeches to a halt outside Bat's apartment. He kicks the door open and looks up at the window, spotting the curtains rapidly closing. You bastard. He rushes up the stairs and stops in front of the apartment door, banging it half a dozen times. Open up. This isn't really the time, Ori. Bats anxiously states. I said open up, or I'll break the goddamn door down. Okay, but you gotta promise not to do anything rash. Fuck you. Ori angrily retorts, kicking the door open and sending Bats sprawling to the floor. He grabs the Ripperdoc by the collar and hefts him up. How could you keep this shit from me? Because of this, ya idiot. I knew you were gonna go crazy. Chill out before you do something you'll regret. I'll regret nothing. You just let her and that piece of shit do whatever they want? You're the crazy one. I didn't do nothing. Cat dash. She's been pregnant for months. Bats growls, grabbing Ori's arm with a firm scowl. Get your head out of your ass and figure it out. Ori's eyes widen slightly, then he trails off, voice lowering to a whisper. Yeah. Fuck. Ori angrily screams, punching a hole through the apartment wall. Chapter 141. Seeing Arhubart. Ori paces back and forth in the apartment for some time, while Bats watches him warily. Finally, he stops, looking at his uncle with a frown. Is she keeping it? Bats chews the inside of his cheek. Yeah, she is. Why? He immediately asks, wondering why she'd want to keep something born from her captivity. Bats shrugs, shaking his head. I don't know. Just that refuses to kill it, even after everything. Ori chews his lip bitterly. It's his, isn't it? He asks, his voice becoming hoarse from the thought alone. Surprisingly, however, Bats shakes his head. No, the time doesn't line up, and Fujino himself refutes it. I'll do a DNA test, even if Kat doesn't want to know. Ori sniffs derisively. So what? That guy's gonna dip? He spits. He knew he wouldn't be able to stay with Rebecca if she had someone else's kid, even if you disregarded the cheating. He doubted an asshole like Fujino would think differently. Again, though, Bat's response leaves him somewhat speechless. No, he wants to stay and look after her. I've talked with him, and he knows it isn't his, but wants to stay anyway. The Ripperdoc stands and places a hand on Ori's shoulder, gripping it as tight as the man can manage. Listen, I know you hate him. I might too, but this shit ain't for us to feel better about ourselves. It's for Kat and the kid. You really trust him? Ori mutters indignantly. After all he's done? Bats nods firmly. I trust Kat's judgment. She's not as fragile as we think and has made her decision. As family, all we can do is keep an eye on things and make sure to step in if anything does go wrong. He grips Ori's shoulders harder. Hate him, I don't care, but Kat is innocent. The kid is innocent. We both know how hard it is without a father, he says almost commandingly. You do see us a family, right? Ori grinds his teeth and lets out a long sigh. If you need to even ask that. He steps to the side and rubs the back of his head. Fuck. I'm not asking because I think you don't. I'm asking so you'd remember. She in there? Ori asks, nodding at Bat's bedroom where all the equipment should be. She is, with Fujino. Ori steps to it and opens it up, revealing Kat lying atop the medical chair with Fujino standing beside her, both looking at a nearby screen displaying an ultrasound of the growing fetus. At his entry, however, they look at him, Fujino's posture shrinking slightly as Kat tenses. Bro, she mumbles, barely loud enough for him to hear.
Cut.
You good? He awkwardly asks, intentionally ignoring Fujino as he steps to the screen, glancing at the fetus. Are you? She replies, looking at him meaningfully. He squeezes his hands, only now realizing that they'd been gripped into fists. Yeah, just need to have a chat with Fujino here. And no, she pleads, knowing exactly how the last time went down. It's fine, Katerina. I wish to talk as well. Fujino assures her. Slowly, she nods, pulling him close and pecking his lips while still staring at Ori, conveying everything she wished without saying a word. Ori leads Fujino into the front room where Bats was standing cross-armed in the corner, observing them. He slides the coffee table between the two couches and sits, dropping his sawed-off shotgun in front of him as Fujino takes a spot opposite him. They're silent for a minute or two until Fujino speaks up. I believe I owe you an apology. Ori's eye twitches. How's the mouth? He asks disingenuously. Ignoring the taunt, Fujino straightens his posture and squares his shoulders. I acted combatively when we first met, when I should have been acting as a suitor would when meeting his future father-in-law. Family is a foreign concept to me, he admits. But I do think both of us have acted immaturely. Ori just scowls. She's 16. You're a grown-ass man who's taken advantage of her, fucked with his perception of shit. You're just lucky I didn't put a bullet in your skull. He bounces his foot restlessly. If it makes you feel any better, I am 20 years old. The man offers, surprising Ori. Maybe his time getting tortured took more of a toll than he'd thought. Ori eyed the man's still missing arm and fingers. Maybe. You want to take care of Kat then and the kid? Why? Would it be enough to say I love her? He pauses but continues at Ori's glare. Aside from my own feelings, I wish to protect her and to redeem myself. So my sister's just a charity case for you then, huh?
Ori growls. No.
While that is one part of it, my affection for her won't allow me to leave. I would rather die than abandon her now, he states with determination. I don't like you. Ori shakes his head. I fucking hate you. I want to gut you so badly I'm struggling to stop myself. He stands and grabs Boar, weighing it in his hand for a couple seconds before sighing, holstering it. But for Kat's sake, I'll let you live for now. Just remember that single slip and I'm coming for you. Of course. Fujino nods, but pauses when he receives some eddies from Ori. Go to Drowning Donuts in Kabuki Market, buy some rhubarb and custard rolls for Kat, he says, waving him off as he steps back into Bat's room. Fujino just glances unsurely at Bats, wondering if he'd been sent on a suicide mission or something. Bats shrugs. They are her favorite, I think. Chapter 142, Complacent. With Fujino out to get pastries, Ori sits next to Kat, who just awkwardly stares at the door. He's still alive? She inquires as her lover fails to rejoin them.
Ornos. Yep.
So. She trails off, unsure of what to say. You got a name for it? He questions. His name is Amon, she states with a small smile. You already know the gender, huh? He mutters, wondering if bringing up the subject of abortion would be a good idea. Definitely not, especially with how she was giving the kid their dad's name. Are you happy? She quietly asks, worry apparent on her face. Why wouldn't I be? He replies, not answering. The question should be, are you happy? She smiles and idly rubs her small baby bump, happier than I've been in a long time. Things aren't complete shit anymore. They're slowly looking up. Do you want to raise a kid? He tentatively asks. She shrugs her shoulders lightly. I don't know. I think I want to. I want to be like Dad, and I don't want to leave him on alone like Mom did. If nothing else, it won't just be us three alone anymore. Not just you, me and Bats. Maybe. Besides, aren't you excited to be an uncle? Not a goofy one like Bats, but a cool one that spoils whenever you visit. She smiles brightly in a slight daze as he thinks about it. You think I'm cool, huh? He chuckles lightly. She snorts, I don't, but Amon might. Boys love muscleheads, don't they? Click. The door to the room opens, revealing a sweaty Fujino holding a box of pastries under his arm. Iha Dash, I'm back. Did you run the entire way? Ori snickers, much to the man's chagrin. Forgive me if I thought the task would be far more perilous than it was. Katerina, I brought your favorite. Here, he says, handing the box over to her. She takes one bite and squints before forcefully swallowing. EW? Really, bro? He's the one who bought them.
Ori retorts.
Yeah, but you're the only one who likes this disgusting flavor. She grumpily tosses the box at him. Fujii, could you get some more, please? My favorite is chocolate-filled, by the way. Fujino just lets out a long sigh. As you wish, he tiredly says before marching off again, all as Ori snickers at his back. Maybe he's not so bad as a gopher? He bites into a rhubarb and custard roll. Maybe. Kat hums. Just don't bully him too much.
No promises.
Ori mutters, wondering how else he can make Fujino's life uncomfortable. Time passes when finally the date of the finals comes around. This time it's located in Japantown, with obvious Tiger Claw intervention to make sure things go their way. Samson stops his Type 66 Thilu next to Dean and Claire Russell's truck, both situated where they'd come in the last race, on the second and third lines. So, looks like those holes won't be coming. Without that tank of theirs, they're probably too scared to race. He rolls down his window and laughs. I don't blame him. I'd not race if I had to give up my ride. Dean shrugs. Looks like someone came, though. Samson remarks as he spots Sasha standing behind a barrier next to the start line. Hey babe, your boyfriend leave you here and run away or something? Sasha just smirks at him, however. Can you really talk, bend over boy? Samson freezes. Where'd you hear that? He grouses. She shrugs. Who knows? It's just funny to know where you got your start in Militech. Oh, I want to hear that story. Claire cackles. Shut up. You just here to start shit since your man can't race? Sasha nods her head down the road where a dark blue Mizutani Cheyenne was approaching. It had obviously been modified, with armored plates placed here and then, providing some makeshift armor. It drives to the front and then parks itself on the first place line, causing Samson to sputter in indignation. Rebecca pokes her head out of the window with a lopsided grin. Yo, she smugly greets. You again. You guys really think you can win with that? It'll take a single 9mm round and you're done. Samson exclaims. We'll just have to not get hit then, or hit you before you can hit us. Rebecca retorts. Fat chance, everyone here wants a piece of you after what you did last race. Ain't that right, Dean? Yeah, mind your heads today. Friends, the man states before rolling his windows back up. Rebecca drops back into the car and glances at Ori, who was idly wrapping his fingers on the steering wheel. We gotta watch our heads apparently, she remarks while grabbing Guts from the back seat and cocking it. Our heads are the least of our worries if we lose this. That don't make sense? Ori mutters to himself and shakes his head. We brought the nades, right? Rebecca reaches over and shows the full belt of sticky bombs, EP. Don't worry, Lamppost, we got this in the bag. Already D-bags. Since the qualifiers had an unfortunate and abrupt end, the announcer sends Ori and Rebecca a dirty look. We're at the finals. So, if you want to show everyone you're the greatest gas-guzzling god above the rest of US mortals, you gotta win this and survive. So no headless victories this time. The racers rev their engines in response, some even firing their weapons in the air as the crowd cheers. Now another talk. Now's the time for action. What better way to show it than by brutally murdering your opponents? Let's get a countdown, the man shouts, pointing to a hastily erected metal arc positioned over the track, a holographic timer appearing and counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, go, go. Chapter 143, Finality. Go, go, go. Ori slams the accelerator to the ground and has the car shoot forward, its tires squealing as it tries to tear up the road below. Samson and Dean do the same, but both of their vehicles were not as fast off the start line as Ori's. Rebecca doesn't sit idle, cackling and immediately throwing out a dozen sticky grenades on the road in front of them as they drive. Other racers who don't notice end up exploding into flames as the bombs detonate under or near their cars. Samson barely avoids the attack, while Dean's truck just tanks it due to its anti-mine under armor he'd had installed. Claire and Samson's new gunner immediately opens fire on the Mizutani, peppering the back of the small car on the newly placed armored. They try score some hits on the tires, but the vehicle is too low to the ground to easily target. Ori drifts around a corner, leaving skid marks in the road as Samson hurriedly tries to follow. Dean's vehicle was simply too slow to keep up around the tight bends of Japantown, not to mention the other competitors firing at him to try and take his place. What the fuck is that? Rebecca exclaims, pointing down the road at a man holding something in his arms. As they approach, he slings it across the street, leaving a large spike strip in the duo's path. What happened to no external interference? Ori grouses, turning onto the pavement as pedestrians scream and jump out of the way. Unfortunately, the spike does clip the back tire, slashes and bursts it. Much to Ori's chagrin, the guy retracts the strip as the other racers approach, taking advantage of Ori's slowed speed. Regardless, a single fucked tire wasn't going to ruin the race. He twists the car back on the road while barely pulling it back from skidding into a nearby wall. Samson cruises up behind them, but moves to Ori's side as Rebecca pops out with guts. Bang bang. Some pellets embed themselves in Samson's front windscreen while others bounced off. His gunner, who'd been trying to get a shot on her, yelps as some penetrate his wrist. Don't be a pussy, just shoot them. Are you not seeing what I'm seeing? That crazy bitch almost took my head off. You're all well and good behind the fucking glass. I'm not paying you to complain. Do your fucking job or get out of the car. Samson angrily shouts. Fine, but I want extra for every injury. The gunner growls as Samson drives up to Ori's window. The gunner leans out to get a point-blank shot at Ori when... Bang! Haha. Unlike you assholes, I don't miss twice. Rebecca cackles as Samson gapes at his now headless teammate. I'm still here, he shouts back, pushing the corpse out of the car before closing the door again. He reaches into the glove box and grabs his own pistol. Fuck you. Crash. Samson's head crashes forwards as another car rear-ends him. He glances backwards and spots some hilly-billy hick-looking motherfuckers grinning at him. While Samson does his best to deal with them, Dean and Claire were steadily catching up to Ori. Claire stayed put in the car, not wanting to get domed like Samson's driver had. Their current game plan was to simply run the Mizutani off the road. Rebecca fires off a few shots at the truck, but they just bounce off the door ineffectively. Ram incoming? Got it. Ori acknowledges. Having the nanites assist a maneuver he was pretty sure is impossible. He turns the wheel and uses the handbrake for a split second. With the one ruined tire, this causes the car to spin around fully. The truck that was about to clip the car simply passes to the other side, leaving Ori to realign the car back front and center. Woo-hoo! Rebecca screams victoriously at them, somehow pulling that off, despite them still being in a similar situation. How the fuck? Claire shrieks wide-eyed at what had just happened. That kid's got balls, I'll tell you what. Dean chuckles good-naturedly, surprised and impressed. Whatever, think they can do it again. Humming. Claire shouts. Dean nods, accelerating and getting ready for a full-on side swipe, only to blink as Rebecca tosses 3 sticky grenades just above the front right tire. Oh, who cares? Just humming unevenly, Claire states, prompting Dean to try and crash into the Mizutani with the grenades.
Asterisk boom, asterisk.
The truck swerves hard as the explosion rocks it, also barely catching Ori's car, which almost sends it into a spiral. The Mizutani goes through a lamppost, but he manages to bring it back in, using the momentum to drift around the upcoming corner. Holy shit, didn't think we'd make that. Ori says as they clear the corner, the other racers trailing behind awkwardly. The guys behind us aren't as lucky, Rebecca remarks while watching Dean accidentally crash into Samson while trying to regain control of his truck. Samson screams as the large vehicle overturns his, flipping it on its roof and sending it skittering towards a low off-road metal barrier. He tries to get his belt off to avoid the upcoming collision, but isn't fast enough. Smash. Splatter. The metal barrier pierces straight through the front windscreen as the car drives upside down into it. Samson can't do anything but sit there as his head gets pressed against the metal and explodes, covering the entire interior of his car in blood and brain matter. Oh my God. Claire gags at the gory sight, never having thought Samson would actually die in one of these races, let alone to them. Jay, just don't mind it, or it'll be us next. Keep your head in the game, he exclaims, trying to catch up to Ori but not managing it due to the front tire being trapped by warped metal, courtesy of Rebecca's earlier grenades. He just rubs his face, even with Samson gone. Looks like we're destined for second place. Chapter 144, Got Dough. The end of the race turned out to be rather anticlimactic. Ori and Rebecca drove over the finish line not to adoring, cheering crowds, but to uncomfortable silence. Obviously, he'd wanted to complain about that asshole who'd tossed a spike strip, but he doubted anyone would give a shit considering the fact he'd won in the end. The car occasionally jolted and hoped due to the absolutely fucked up rear tire, but Ori was sure he could get it fixed up. This was technically his car now, wasn't it? Right? Huh. Ori's shaken to by Rebecca just as the other racers arrive. He blinks a couple times before stepping out, immediately finding himself accosted by the announcer. And first place prize goes to Dash. The guy leans in. Hey buddy, what's your name again? Oh, my name's Hugh Jass. Ori offers with a neutral expression. To Hugh Jass. Wait a minute. The announcer turns a scathing glare to Ori just as he gets back in the car. I'll be waiting for my prize, Ori states, driving off before anyone else can say a word. After all, the deal didn't require him to garner public attention. A known Merc was usually a dead one. Unless you were someone like Atom Smasher, of course. Well, the first place winner is apparently a huge asshole. Whatever. None of us can say it wasn't a good race. Let's move on and see what our surviving competitors think. Ori, you fucking did it. Quentin laughs as he steps into the garage, spotting the Merc standing by his engineers get to work fixing the beat-up Mizutani. It had more bullet holes than screws right now, and driving on one fucked up will almost destroy the axle. Thankfully, the car had been resting on some of the hastily added armor plates, resting the weight off of the mechanism. Ori just nods as the fixer claps him on the shoulder. Things looking good? No last-second shenanigans? Quentin shakes his head. Definitely not. The bets haven't been paid in yet, but they will. I've got the numbers, though, if you want to hear him. We could save it for another day if you want to take a break. That race looked rough. He shrugs. Never knew you were a brass balls driver either. Me neither. Rebecca pipes up, stepping away from where she'd been annoying the mechanics. I kinda thought we were gonna die when he spun the car around. She admits. The tire blew out. I had to do something. It was luck, to be honest. Ori rubs his face and shakes his head. Let's hear the numbers, though. Quentin nods and pulls up a holoscreen. Some folks pulled out after the tank dash. Bessie. Rebecca cuts in. Bessie got banned, but the better odds more than made up for it. Let's see. Taking everything into account, my cut, the bonus, first place prize, you're getting around 93,000 EDs, plus the car. He gestures uncaringly at the Mizutani. Ori feels his open mouth get clapped closed by Rebecca, bringing him back to his senses.
N-22
That's a lot more than I thought we'd get. Quentin smirks. Of course, I'm not gonna skimp on my best Merc, am I? You'll get the money when everything's finalized. Hey, do you know anything about that asshole who spiked us? Rebecca interjects. Not really. I was going to have the bets called off when I saw that, but decided to let it go on for a while longer. Good thing, too. As for the guy, some Tiger Claw who got hired to fix the race, what an amateur. He sniffs contemptuously. Tiger Claws again. Ori mutters under his breath. While they were in Japantown, you'd think they'd leave the race alone. He was pretty sure Okako hadn't leaked his shit, so the fixing had nothing to do with his identity. Whatever, it's not like we're gonna race again. He shrugs. What? Really? We broke the bank with this shit. Rebecca exclaims, surprised he'd dismiss it so easily. Quentin shakes his head. I think you'll have trouble making good eddies if you keep at it. You may win every single race yet spend your whole prize on repairing your ride. Only reason the payout was so big this time was because of the bets. The guys running the race won't be so easy to fool next time. So it's over? Rebecca grumbles. We can do an occasional race, but nothing serious. Ori reluctantly offers, while driving was kind of fun, doing it like he'd just done made it more stressful than anything. I want to drive next time. She folds her arms and turns her nose up. Can your feet even reach the pedals? Ori drawls, prompting a laugh from Quentin, who quickly shuts up at Rebecca's glare. Well, I'll be going. Got a lot of shit to do and asses to kiss. You know, fix her shit. I'll catch you later when I got another gig, Quentin says, leaving with a wave. You know, making fun of my height is only funny the first couple of times. Rebecca grouses. Only for you. For me it's funny every time. Besides, don't you like being small? He asks, stepping in and smirking down at her. You like me being small. You keep it up and I'll get some new legs. See how you like that. She turns her head away with a huff. He reaches down and grips her perky butt. And risk ruining this ass? Doubt it. She snorts and reaches up, grabbing a handful of his crotch, causing his spine to straighten. You've been getting cocky lately thinking I should put you in your place again? If you're referring to our first time, that didn't go how you think it did dash. Will you two shut up and fuck off? We're trying to work here. Last I checked this ain't a fucking dollhouse. One of the mechanics shouts from underneath the raised Mizutani. Fine, but not because you said to. A dollhouse is probably your best bet for getting laid anyway, Uggo. Rebecca says to the man who slumps his shoulders in response. Yeah, I know that already. The mechanic mutters depressingly. We're just gonna go. Ori awkwardly says, leading Rebecca out. Chapter 145. Saw it off. Ori, I found some leads on our netrunner. Sasha. Ori blinks himself awake at the message, unintentionally kicking Rebecca out of bed due to how close she is to the edge. Hey.
Sorry.
Just got a text. Sasha says she found something.
Gimme wat u got, Ori.
Haven't found their identity, but they just rented a room in the Sunset Hotel over at the Red Peaks, east of Charter Hill. We move now, and we might catch them while they're sleeping. Sasha. Shit, that's all I needed to hear.
Oi.
Ori grabs Rebecca under his arm and marches into the shower as she tries to squirm her way out of his grip. Come on, we got someone to kill and a time limit to hit. Ori flies down the highway with Rebecca and Sasha and his ogre 420 magistrate, kicking up a long line of dust as they hightail it towards the sunrise. You really think the guy'll be there? Rebecca queries, glancing at Sasha in the back from the passenger seat. She shrugs. Maybe? All I know is they bought a room last night and haven't checked out yet. Room 11, apparently. We won't have to wait long. We're already there. Ori states, nodding his head at the hotel approaching from the distance. Despite its isolated location, there were more people than expected. Dozens of cars lined up on the roadsides nearby it. Stalls set up selling both food, clothes, and arms, and even at this time the bar looked half full. He twists around the street and stops the truck in a free parking space. After that, he grabs Boar and 6 revolvers and steps out, followed by his companions. They don't enter the bar. Instead, they head to room 11, which was placed on the second floor at the very end of the walkway. Knock knock. Ori taps the barrel of Boar against the door, prepared to blow whoever opens it apart if they show any hostility. After some minutes of waiting, however, no one comes to answer. Sasha reported that no one had snuck out of the other entrances like the windows, for example, and they hadn't checked out either, meaning they were still inside. Well, looks like it's the hard way then, he remarks, taking some steps back as Rebecca and Sasha get some distance. Crash. He goes straight through the door, pushing through the dust with Boar raised, looking around the room. Strangely, there wasn't anyone inside. The couch of the room seemed to have been dragged directly in front of the television, which was buzzing with static. BZZD. Hello. A person on the TV says as a picture of a shadowed figure appears. If you say, do you want to play a game? I'm gonna lose my shit. Rebecca states as she walks inside, Sasha having confirmed that there were no hidden explosives. A fan of the classics. But no, I'm not a complete hack. The stranger chuckles. I have something of yours that you might want. Ori rests Boar on his shoulder. And what would that be? The picture buzzes and switches to some dull room. 3 people were tied to chairs in the middle with black bags over their heads. Ori instantly freezes as he notices an inconspicuous bump on the stomach of the only female. The lack of one arm and most fingers on the man next to her only confirmed his suspicions. Still, Ori kept his expression firm. Hostages, I thought you said you weren't a hack? He drawls while shooting Sasha a text. Find out where this fucker is. That's my family he's got.
Oi.
Already working on it. Sasha. No, I only said I'm not a complete one. Clichés are only so because they are iconic. Being last to the party doesn't make you any less valuable. The hooded person walks into the shot with an axe in hand. Tell that to copyright laws. Sasha adds, folding her arms. Pfft, like that shit matters. Back when the world wasn't shit, China repurposed technology from the USA with no repercussions. Everyone steals. Whether or not you have the power to take it back is another matter. The person rests a hand on one of the hostage's shoulders. Ori clenches his jaw. I don't know. There's nothing worse than a loser who can't learn. You failed to kill me once. Now you've resorted to this? If you want to go off TV culture, you're a Z-list villain by your own standards. Heh, yeah, you're the Elmer Fudd of Mercs. Rebecca snickers.
No.
Yeah, you are. No, I'm not. Whatever you say, Mr. Fudd. I am not Elmer Fudd. The kidnapper shakes his head. Enough. I didn't set this up to small talk. He pulls the hoods off of the hostages, revealing Bats, Cat, and Fujino, all sitting there with wide-eyed and gagged. Ori grips Boar tightly. And what do you want? I want to finish my job, what else? I'm a petty person, though. If I can't manage that, I'll settle for the next best thing. They point the axe as the hostages. How about it? Their head's worth yours? Fat chance. Rebecca growls. You touch any of them, you won't escape. Sasha promises with brows furrowed. Hopefully it won't come to that. You just gotta play my game, Dash. I knew it was a fucking saw. Rebecca exclaims with an accusatory finger. You hack? And I'm sure by the time 2077 rolls around, Saw released 100 more movies. Shut the fuck up, the kidnapper angrily shouts, taking a breath. Now, you either do as I say or they heft the axe. I start cutting bits off. Oh, and mind your manners, Miss Dash. BZZTCH. Sasha yelps as the back of her head crackles slightly with sparks. A quick hack to her interface forcing her to cease whatever operation she was running. Did you think I wouldn't notice you running around, searching for me? You're not as smart as you think you are, kitten. Chapter 146. One Man Left Behind. You're not as smart as you think you are, kitten. Ori grips Sasha's arm, but she shrugs him off, brusquely mouthing, I'm fine. Now, before we can do anything, I need you three to open the drawer underneath this television. The kidnapper orders. Once he sees the trio not moving, however, he reiterates while placing the blunt side of the axe atop Bat's head. Do it. Rebecca scowls and opens it, pulling out 4 chips of some sort. Just leave one behind. I thought there would be more of you. They remark. Now, put them in? Huh. Are you retarded? You must be to think we'd actually do that. Rebecca gapes at them, outwardly wondering if the villain had Down syndrome. You are free to scan them, but you will put them in if you want to find your friends. Ori scowls but sends a nod at Sasha. It doesn't take long for her to figure out what they were. Communication blockers, along with tracking software. Not viruses, but certainly not something you'd want to plug in. We wouldn't want you contacting any nuisances, would we? Did I mention I've been keeping track of your communications as soon as you entered? They conversationally add. What guarantee do we have that you'll do as you say? Ori questions, wondering how they were going to get out of this shit alive. Not to mention, how the fuck this bastard managed to locate his. Oh, when he'd rushed home at the news of Kat's pregnancy, he'd forgotten his usual precautions. Fucking shit. You don't. But I can promise you a boss fight at the very least. No game is complete without one. Or you could refuse and lose much. They state meaningfully, laying the axe atop Kat's head this time.
Fine.
We'll play your fucking game. Ori growls, plugging the chip in. Just don't get mad when you lose. Rebecca and Sasha reluctantly follow, plugging in and immediately feeling their communication systems buzz and falter. Even their connection to the net gets stifled. What now then? Maybe a fetch quest? Rebecca grouses irritably. Hardly. I told you. We're going straight to the boss fight. The kidnapper pulls out a map and highlights a point south of Night City, isolated and in the middle of an empty area of desert within the Jackson Plains. Now, why don't you get moving? We'd rather not wait all day, us or our guests. BZZDCH. The TV turns off, leaving the trio just standing there with many expressions crossing their faces. Rebecca was switching between anger and irritation, Sasha between helplessness and guilt, and Ori. Ori's lips were pursed, conflict raging clear on his face by his single twitching brow and the prominent scowl on his face. What are we going to do? Sasha questions, folding her arms and scratching a line into her tricep. We'll be walking straight into a trap. They have hostages, and we can't even call for help. What else can we do? We go in there, shoot those cunts, then pick up some ice cream on the way back. Rebecca firmly states. You're right, there's nothing else we can do. Ori mutters, anxiously chewing his lip, except... He trails off, shaking his head.
What?
Rebecca presses. I was thinking maybe we could drop someone off on the way to get help, but the chips. He lets out a forlorn sigh. No, maybe we could. Sasha perks up. I could tie the signal to another chip. The proximity would make it look like nothing had happened. She glances at Rebecca. I'd have to be there to keep it stable, though. Wait, you two aren't thinking of just dropping me off and going there yourselves, are you? Rebecca all but shrieks. No fucking way am I letting you do that. Ori shakes his head. It's that or go in without backup. I don't like it either, but it's probably our only option. No, she angrily exclaims. You can try convince me all you want. You ain't ditching me to go off and die. Sasha just looks unsurely at Ori, shrugging her shoulders lightly. He maintains eye contact with her for a couple seconds before sighing, fine. We die, we do it together, I guess. That's what I fucking thought. She rests guts behind her head. Now let's go. We've got some gonks to gank. Ori drives back to Night City but doesn't take the immediate highway to their destination, instead looping around Santo Domingo. He sends subtle glances at Sasha, who seemed to understand his intentions, all while Rebecca distractedly double and triple-checked her weapons. Thankfully, he barely remembered her talking about Maine's crew's hideout, some garage below an underpass. Rebecca seemed to recognize it as they drove past, and wasn't able to react fast enough when he kicked her out of the car, Sasha hijacking the tracker as they left the pale chibi in the dust. "You fucking assholes." Rebecca roars after them, firing guts into the sky as if that had changed their decision. "Do you really think this is the best idea?" Sasha questioned. Half of her wanted to just leave Ori to his devices. After all, it wasn't her family held hostage. But then again, he had helped her get her revenge. Not to mention the idea of betraying a friend sickened her to her core. Ori picked up on her hesitation, of course. While he wanted to give her the chance to back out, she was the one currently holding Rebecca's tracker. If she left, the kidnappers would definitely know something was up.
No.
But it's the only thing we can really do. Sorry, by the way, for getting you involved with this shit. She shakes her head. They're assassins. If they're after you, then they're after me and Rebecca too. We're a crew, after all. Listen, if I don't make it, look after my cat, she asks semi-seriously. Only if you promise to look after my cat too. He smiles lightly, and they both chuckle in response. Chapter 147, Civiles. The sun beat down heavily upon them as Ori drove into the desert. Even with the shaded windows, the heat inside the truck kept climbing, as if they were sitting in an oven. Even with the air conditioner on, he and Sasha had sweat dripping off of them. Then again, it could just be all nerves. Nerves for the approaching confrontation. He follows the thin, dirt road until they spotted a building in the distance, half buried by sand and with 4 vehicles parked to one side. Had been hoping to see only the Netrunner present? Yes. Had he been stupid enough to expect it? No. He stops the car a dozen meters away, and they could already see the shutters behind the windows twitching, meaning the Mercs knew they were here. End of the line. Ori mutters, patting 6 revolvers to make sure they were there and gripping Boar tightly. You ready? He looks to Sashi. She gives a small nod, extending and retracting her cybernetic claws before palming her Militech Omaha. Last chance to back out, he quietly asks as the building's door opens, revealing the hooded figure from the TV. She just smiles sweetly and shakes her head, stepping out of the car. Ori follows, gripping Boar tightly as they meet the kidnapper halfway. You're missing one, they remark, voice now clearly feminine without the voice modulation. She's watching the car. Ori firmly states, without any sign of deception thanks to the Nanite's manual control over his muscles. HM? Well, whatever. They hold out a rucksack. Your weapons, please. Ori frowns. Are we going to fight or not? You've kidnapped my family. Now you want me to disarm myself and wait to die? The hooded woman tilts her head. We want to ensure that you stay, zombie. Once you're inside, we'll let your family go. That annoying bitch of yours can drive them home. She shrugs. We're not psychopaths. We don't harm innocents unless necessary. And if I just blow your head off here and now? He inquires in a low tone. She shrugs. Then your family will die. And my impression of you caring more about them than yourself will be proven incorrect. She leans forwards. But if you really want to throw it all away, go ahead. They stand there like that for a couple minutes at least, tension thick as Ori contemplates shooting the bitch standing in front of him. In the end, he just sighs. Hopefully Rebecca would get here with reinforcements fast enough. If not, well, he'd be too dead to worry about it. He drops Boar into the bag, prompting Sasha to do the same with her pistol. Unfortunately, the woman was too savvy to miss the large revolvers on his hips, his jacket not hiding their prominent bulge well enough to avoid notice. Good. Now, follow me please, she says, leading the duo into the building. Immediately as they enter, Ori spots other Mercs poking their heads into the hallway and glaring at him and Sasha. You need something, shithead? He grouses, causing one of the men to scowl. You can fight later, the woman orders. Let's get the hostages out of our hair first. She kicks open a door which reveals a large room along with Bats, Cat, and Fujino, who were still tied in the center. They all blink as they spot him, Cat struggling against her restraints as moisture builds in her eyes. Well, you're free to go. Now get the fuck out so we can get started, the woman says, cutting their restraints. Cat pulls the gag out of her mouth and runs to Ori. Bro, what are you doing? Saving you. Now leave, he orders, pushing her towards the door and sending a firm nod at Bats as he pulls over a chair and sits in it. But you can't just dash, Cat presses, but stops as Bats presses a hand over her mouth and pulls her away, all as she squirms to escape. Fujino stands between Ori and the exit as if weighing the decision of trying something. But a glare from Ori sends him on his way, leaving Ori and Sasha alone with the hooded woman. A couple minutes later, Ori could hear the engine of his car starting, then trailing off as it drives into the distance. Safety. Clack. The metal door of the room closes as the last of the mercs step into the room. There were 10 of them excluding the Netrunner, all either heavily built, highly modded, or lithe and quick-looking. Clearly, after the Netrunner's failure, she'd elected to bring all the other merc groups together to assure the completion of the bounty. Ori leans forwards on his knees as Sasha stands beside him, eyeing the gathered mercs as if they were premium cooked steak. "It's gonna take more than you just lot to kill me," he states, causing some to laugh. "Huh, we know you, zombie. You got lots of defensive chrome, but I ain't never seen you with anything else." One of the larger men grins, revealing his metallic teeth. "You've had us running around Night City looking for ya. Now it's payback for the wasted time and eds." Ori takes a glance at Sasha before refocusing on the men. "So what? You just gonna bum rush us and hope you get lucky? Or maybe you'll have the balls to go one-on-one?" He taunts, hoping they'd be stupid enough to accept. "Hawk, fuck off, we're mercs, not fucking samurai." He hefts his shotgun. "You're nothing but a paycheck? Just me, or her too?" Ori questions, pointing a thumb at Sasha. "Both of ye, but your head's worth more," he grouses. "How about me versus you all then? Leave her out of it, unless you're scared?" Ori presses, knowing he could handle a lot more than Sasha. The guy cocks his shotgun, an automatic if Ori had to guess. "What part of no don't you fucking get? You gonk prick." He raises his gun towards Ori's head and fires. Bong. Chapter 148, Slugfest. Bong. ARRGGHHH. An agonized shout echoes as the man's gun explodes in his hand, courtesy of Ori, who'd managed to shoot his grapple hook into the barrel as it fired. The merc falls to the ground, clutching his mangled hand while the others stumble back from the explosion, pieces of shrapnel hitting their skin and clothes, not to mention the blood splatter. "Get to cover." Ori hurriedly orders Sasha as he leaps forwards at the crowd, throwing his chair more as a distraction as he retrieves his extended hook. She nods, glancing at the enemy Netrunner, and temporarily blinds her via a quick hack focused on her ocular systems. The hooded figure yelps in response, gripping her eyes while rapidly trying to fix the issue. With her distracted, Sasha gets to work on something else. Her eyes flash with data as all the lights in the building die, sending the room into almost complete darkness. Shnike. Her claws extend as she leaps off of a chair towards the crowd blocking the single entrance. They find the neck of a bulky guy wielding a machete, disemboweling another who attempted to block her path. She flees into the hallway, aware that a certain Netrunner had followed her, intent on putting her down while the other mercs dealt with Ori. Sasha skids to a halt and turns, claws extended as she cattily grins at her opponent. "What now? I kill you and get paid. What else?" The woman sniffs derisively, rubbing her eyes with her forearm from the after effects of Sasha's earlier quick hack. "Or you can tell me who hired you. Maybe I'll let you live." Sasha states. "Stand still for a moment and I might," she says while raising her pistol. Ori sends a skull-shattering punch into a merc's face, atomizing her cheekbone and sending him to hell without teeth. The darkness Sasha had granted wasn't incredibly effective when most mercs had Kiroshi optics or better, allowing them to see in the dark as well as they do everywhere else. The only boon was the fact that every time someone fired a weapon, everyone nearby was temporarily blinded due to their sensitivity to light. That, combined with the larger number of people all bundled and close together, made it difficult for the enemy to focus on him properly. Bang bang. He grunts as 2 shots hit him in the back and spins around, spitting the grapple hook into his hand and opening it into a claw as he jams the blade into someone's eye. The cybernetic organ sparks as it's destroyed, but as Ori goes to finish the guy off, a knife slips into his side. "Gore. Back off," he growls, kicking the guy who'd stabbed him away while pulling out the claw and raking it across the man's throat to finish him. 2 cybernetically enhanced punches connect to the side of his skull, fracturing it, but he pulls the knife sticking out of him and stabs the roided-up merc in the chest. The fight was a complete beatdown on both sides, Ori taking as much damage as he gave. While he could heal from it, there were only so many injuries he could take. Regardless, he wasn't going to lie down and let these fucks do him in. His eyes narrowed to cat-like slits as he shoves a shotgun upward, just as it was about to blow his brains out. It kicks dust off of the ceiling, which seemed awfully interesting to the merc who'd unconsciously followed the direction his gun was pointing. Ori slips into his guard and stabs the grapple hook through the man's neck, gripping the wire connecting it and slamming him face down into the floor while catching the shotgun that had been sent airborne. He fires it once, but ends up losing it after a merc with mantis blades cuts it in 2. Ori ducks away from the following slash, and is forced to use another unfortunate assassin as a meat shield for the next. Ori blinks the blood out of his eyes as his shield gets completely bisected, covering both himself and the enemy in blood. The blade comes down once more, but he blocks it, pulling the metal cord of his grapple hook to catch the weapon. Metal grinds against metal for a couple seconds. Ori was winning the duel of strength, but before he could overpower his attacker, he feels a bullet enter his leg. He drops to a knee as the ligament snaps, but the attacks don't stop there as a merc easily 2 feet taller than him tackles him to the ground. Ori grunts as he lands heavily on his back, desperately raising his arms to block the barrage of cybernetically enhanced punches sent his way. This is for killin' Ricky. Why fucking gonk shitter? The man roars as he continues his ground and pound. Ori leans away and avoids a punch as it shatters the concrete beside his head, obviously enough to crush his skull. He was seeing double, but ignored it for now and forces the guy off of him the only way he knew how. SHCH gay. Thump. HARRGGIYYYA. The brute screams as Ori's grapple hook hits his groin, the blade hitting his nuts and opening up, disemballing him. He pulls on the hook hard, sending the man flying through the air, more by his own legs than any effort on Ori's part. Ori lets out a mini squeak as he pushes himself backwards and opens his legs, barely avoiding a circumcision from the mantis blade-wielding Merc. He twists around, locking the blade between his legs and obstructing the cyberware's mechanism, slamming his elbow into the Merc's nose and breaking it. Bang bang bang. Again, bullets hit him, burying into his chest and gut, but he grits his teeth and kicks off of the floor, away from his current opponent and at the guy taking potshots at him. Try that again, bastard. And the fight is basically the Daredevil hallway fight, or Kingsman church fight, except way faster, stronger, more bloody, and with the MC actually getting shot. Chapter 149, Battle of Wits. Sasha's opponent raises her gun and tries to fire a few shots, only to grimace as the weapon sparks in her grip. Showing me a smart gun? Not smart. Sasha grins, launching herself forwards. Unfortunately, the fight wasn't going to be that easy. The Netrunner forcefully swaps her gun to manual mode and hurriedly fires off some shots. Sasha is forced to roll into a nearby room to avoid it, accidentally knocking over a table in her haste. She spots the cameras around her but doesn't disable them, knowing the Netrunner would be accessing them. Instead, she hides a demon in the system while positioning herself next to the door, ready to cut the enemy down if she dared enter. A virus? That's adorable, the hooded woman remarks, still standing in the hallway. Shit. Sasha mentally curses. While she knew her opponent was around her level at hacking, she was more familiar with the building, allowing her to notice abnormalities far easier. Not only that, she knew where every device was located. The kettle behind her abruptly powers to 500% capacity, instantly boiling the liquids before exploding and hitting Sasha with both scalding water and fragments from the kettle. How's that? Pussycat? The woman taunts, attempting to bring Sasha out of the room. Despite this, neither of them moved, each knowing they'd die if they tried to go on the offensive. Thus, they moved on to the next battlefield. The net. Data streams rush past Sasha as she engages the Netrunner in a technological battle, pushing her RAM and operating system at full power to fight her. Of course, their tech was also somewhat equal, leaving them both at a standstill. The Netrunner continuously attempts to breach Sasha's systems, but isn't able to as Sasha slaps away any and all attacks. Command /archive. Cybernetics / SBRU. The Netrunner tries to force Sasha to use all her RAM on meaningless tasks, but she easily catches it and cancels the orders. Just give up. Jacqueline, you first. Sasha. While for the duo the battle seemed to last forever, in reality it was only a couple of seconds, and while it seemed to hard-fought, the victor had already been decided. Jacqueline's perception shifts as she's knocked out of cyberspace. Opening her eyes, she gapes as she sees Sasha standing next to her, her port already connected to her interface, an automatic game over for any Netrunner. Having someone poured into your interface was like a vampire getting staked in the heart, except somehow even worse. How? She mutters, wondering how Sasha had tricked her so easily. I didn't fight fair. While you were attacking me, I just walked over. Easy, she states while locking all of Jacqueline's cyberware in place. Now how about we see who hired you? And no, please, just kill me. Too late for that. Just be happy Ori isn't getting his hands on you. Sasha says, getting to work and turning Jacqueline's world into feelings of pain, humiliation, and violation. Quick, they're inside here. Rebecca shouts, gripping guts as she storms through the front door with a shoulder charge. She was angry, incredibly so after being ditched on the street by Ori. Even worse, Maine hadn't even been in his hideout, forcing her to use one of his computers to contact him. After that everything was a blur, Maine arriving with Dorio and Pilar and breaking every speed limit to reach Ori in time. Hey, wait up. Who knows what traps they've got set up? Maine exclaims, running after her. You heard him, sis. Your input's probably already dead anyway. Pilar huffs and grunts as Dorio slaps him over the back of his head. Hey, now's not the time to let your jealousy show. We got work to do, she states. Jealousy? Of what? Some street-sucking Merc wannabe duping my SIH. Hey, stop hitting me already. Then shut up. Rebecca sprints through the building, quickly finding Sasha unconscious next to the corpse of some hod woman. Hey, wake up, cat, she exclaims, giving her companion a firm kick. Sasha's eyes shoot open, blearily looking around while disconnecting her port from Jacqueline's corpse. Did you just kick me? Forget about that. Where's Ori? Rebecca quickly asks.
Oi.
Sasha jumps to her feet and sprints away, backtracking to where the hostages had been held. Rebecca runs past her and kicks it open before she can even reach it, but both pause as they look inside. Light streamed in through the open door, revealing a completely blood-covered room. Broken, battered, mangled, and sliced bodies lay strewn across the floor, some in heaps of body parts, while others stayed isolated. Standing in the center of the room was a familiar face, Ori. His upper body was completely bare with his trousers ragged from bullet holes, burns, and cuts. It was hard to tell what was his blood and what wasn't with how much of it there was. His exposed skin was covered with wounds that were slowly stitching themselves closed. His chest heaved as he stood, eyes closed as if he was in some kind of trance. Indeed, he even looked skinnier, gaunter than he should be. Neither of the duo was sure what to say. Fortunately, someone else was present to air their thoughts. Holy shit, the fuck happened here? Maine exclaims as he gawks at the scene, his voice drawing Ori's attention. He blinks and cracks his neck, revealing a missing section of his neck that seemed to have been torn away via a bite. He looked ready to start fighting again, but the scowl on his face fades as he spots his friends. You alright, kid? You not gone loopy on us, have you? Maine questions, conspicuously palming his pistol. No, I'm good. Ears are still ringing though. Could you be a bit quieter, Dash? He starts but gets interrupted. Huh, why'd we even come if he had it all handled? Just wasting our time now. Pilar exclaims, taking a peek over Rebecca at the room. Ori blinks a couple times, sounds not registering in his mind when his eyes abruptly roll to the back of their socket. He slumps to the bloody ground unconscious, exhaustion finally reaching him. Chapter 150, Wakey Wakey. About time for you to get up, kid. Maine's voice brings Ori to, blinking awake as he sits up on the dirt couch he'd been laying on.
Ugh.
He grumbles tiredly, idly touching his lips from the lingering taste of blood, though he was sure this was just a mental aftereffect from the earlier blood bath. He wasn't somewhere familiar, but at least Maine's presence meant it was safe enough. A dark workshop with boarded-up windows and frayed furniture scattered around the place, not to mention a netrunner set up with an ice bath behind some nearby curtains. Ori rubs his head, still feeling a slight headache that had lasted ever since he took that blow to the head. Maybe his fractured skull was more than just that. Brain damage was harder to heal than bone after all. His arm snaps up as Maine tosses him something, and he inwardly grimaces as the hot pocket bursts in his hand, covering it in sauce hotter than whatever volcanoes spat out. Doc told us you'd be hungry when you woke. Don't blame ya after seeing that shithole. Maine remarks, leaning back on the couch with a cigar in his mouth. Doc, bats? They all okay? They get out? Ori quickly asks, what about Sasha? They're all alive, scuffed your ride a bit but peachy. The doc, your prego sis, and her squinty-eyed input. Maine says while puffing the cigar. Ah? Good. Ori mutters, dropping back into the couch and stuffing the hot pocket into his mouth. Yeah, he'd need to reload on carbs if he was going to be fighting anytime soon. If he took any more damage, he'd be looking like a skeleton. Have to say though, you did good. You sure you don't want to join up? There's always room in the crew. He grins toothily. In case you forgot, I've got my own crew to look after. He trails off. Becca's not happy with me, is she? Ah, as a famous man once said, you done fucked up. You might be alright though. If you died, who knows what she would have done. He shrugs. Yeah, great. Chin up. Not everyone lives through an ambush like that. He tilts his head. Not everyone would have been stupid enough to deliver themselves too. But either way, good work. Maine points a metal finger at him. Your friend says she found something about the guys who put a bounty on ya. She did? Ori perks up. Where are they at anyway? Outside. You slept the day away, so they're having drinks with the guys. He gestures at the door on the far side of the room. You need help walking? Ori shakes his head, almost stumbling to his knees as he gets to his feet. He hobbles to the door and opens it, finding Sasha and Rebecca sitting around a burning barrel with the rest of Maine's crew. Apparently, they'd taken him back to their hideout below the underpass, where he dropped Rebecca off earlier. Maine steps past him and flicks his burnout cigar into the dirt. Kids up, go to town on him. He announces, causing Rebecca and Sasha to perk up, spotting him at the door. Ori sends Maine an aggrieved glare and attempts to shuffle back inside, only for Rebecca to grab his ear with the strength of a mountain. Oh, you ain't running till I had a piece of you. She turns to Maine's crew. Order some food on me, she says as she drags Ori inside, Sasha shutting the door behind them. $20 says they're gonna fuck. All three of him. Dorio remarks.
Loser bet.
Either way, that kid's fucked. Maine chuckles, intentionally ignoring the outraged Pilar. After getting a talking to by Rebecca, which involved her shoving as many disgusting protein bars into his mouth as possible, The three of them were left silently sitting in the building. Rebecca had sat in Ori's lap with folded arms like an immovable object, refusing to move no matter what. He knew she hadn't finished berating him, but she was probably waiting until they were alone. Ori sighs, wrapping his arms around Rebecca's waist and hugging her, hoping that would placate her for now. How'd you manage after you escaped? He questions Sasha. I drew the Netrunner out and fought her. She was overconfident and I took advantage of it. Did Maine tell you what I found? She inquires. Ori shrugs, the movement causing Rebecca to pinch his leg. Something about the guys who put the hit on us? Sasha nods. Well, I found everything in the Netrunner's head. Do you know who's in charge of Biotechnica? Dunno. I'm assuming that means it was Biotechnica then? The new regional manager, Dr. Joanne Koch. She replaced Roger Daffords after our stunt in the Corpo Plaza. No idea who that is. How much was the bounty anyway? He asks. 70,000 eddies for your head, and 40 for me. What about me? Rebecca voices, I was there too. Sasha nods. They don't care about actually dealing with us. Only those that publicly harm their interests. They wanted Ori, as head of the crew, and me, the Netrunner who broadcasted their secrets. You and Six, if he were still alive, are just collateral to them. Well, that's bullshit. Rebecca angrily huffs, falling back into Ori. Sasha shakes her head. What should we do about Koch? What do you think we should do? She's a corpo bigwig that'll be protected by thousands of guards. Is it dumb of me to think she'll have forgotten about us already?
Ori asks. No.
She'll keep sending people, more now that the Mercs failed. I don't know if what I've read is true, but people say she's, well, evil. Sasha admits, blushing slightly at how childish it sounded. Evil? Rebecca wonders humorously. Like, mad scientist evil. Sasha amends. So we've got a mad scientist after us with unlimited funds? And you think she won't stop until both of us are dead? Ori exasperatedly sighs. The assassins were chromed up enough as it is. Any more and we'll be facing Smasher. We'll manage. Sasha assures, we know who we're up against now. We can plan ahead. Also, speaking of the chrome, I sold the assassins salvageable cyberware to Susie Q. The Mox. Guess we'll be seeing more hookers with blades and big-ass arm-mounted guns.
Ori mutters.
Not hookers, Joy Toys, get it right. Rebecca retorts. Chapter 151. Time skip. Months later. You know, I thought it was a bit sus for you to ask me out on an actual date, but this is nice. Chill compared to everything else going on. Ori smiles across from Rebecca, who returned it while sipping her drink. Most of their dates consisted of them staying at home, braindancing and screwing until the bed breaks. They'd restricted their public outings after the ambush last time. To be honest, compared to how things were when Max and Six were around, it had practically been a vacation. Koch either hadn't realized her mercs were dead or hadn't cared enough to send more assassins. Tiger Claws hadn't made any big moves despite Wakako's warnings, and he'd even managed to buy the prototype cyberware Charlie needed. It was currently being shipped from Japan, but should arrive in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully after that Charlie would be good as new. He'd fulfill his promise to Max and Six. Though, he wasn't entirely sure how he'd raise the girl. He'd seen well enough how his job put people he loved at risk, especially after Kat and Bat's kidnapping. Even then, he probably wouldn't have time to properly look after her. At the moment he had no solid plans, but he was pretty sure he'd end up pawning her off on Kat. She was very pregnant nowadays, and would probably jump at the chance to get a head start on parenting. At the least it'd keep her mind off of the distance he'd put between them, for obvious reasons. You're the one having us hunt those gonk cyber psychos. Rebecca drawls, if we just did regular gigs we'd be richer and less stressed. Ori shakes his head. I want to find a cure. I'm not smart enough to do it myself, so Regina'll have to do. I don't want to lose any more friends to it. He grumbles into his drink. She sighs, I don't know where that kitty thinking comes from. I thought you'd have grown out of it by now. Cyber psychos can't be cured, she states with certainty. Once they go past that point there's no hope, and wasting our time with some dumb one-eyed dyke ain't gonna change that. Is that what you tell yourself? Make yourself feel better after Six?
No.
Maybe he could have been helped, but I'm not gonna keep crying about it. You either move forward or die. That's how this city runs. You know this, I know this. This whole thing about a cure is your way of dealing with it. I shoot people, Pilar fucks, Maine smokes, Sash plays with her pussy, she snickers, and you? You go all emo until the mood passes. Do you honestly think there's no hope? He quietly asks. What if Pilar went psycho? Or Sasha? Or me? Then, I guess someone's gonna die. She stubbornly states, refusing to give any ground that cyber psychos could be brought back. Ori wasn't entirely sure where her hatred of them came from, whether it be from Six or the many they'd hunted at this point, but it was a headache to deal with whenever the topic was brought up. He looks down, away from her, ending up staring at his arm. He wasn't exactly human anymore, considering all the upgrades he'd been through. It wouldn't be wrong to call him an abomination, since he and the Nanites had ended up integrating many facets from many different creatures. His skin alone had the influence of around 12, including sharks, crocodiles, armadillos, hippos, elephants, etc. At a distance, it still looked like regular, if tan skin. But under a microscope, you'd find billions, maybe even trillions of microscopic scales, and the flesh under that was akin to animal hide. All of this combined made his skin look unblemished and somewhat shiny under certain light. His muscles had been enhanced further, integrating facets from apes, gorillas, bears, and even whales in some areas. Not to mention his bones that had slowly been fused with iron after the Nanites found information on some sort of sea snail. If metal detectors were still around, they'd go off whenever he'd go through. If that wasn't it, fucking bots even had the bright idea to give venom sacs. Literal fucking venom sacs from snakes. Effects vary from neurotoxin to necrosis, all from biting someone. Honestly, if he ever got to the point of biting, he was probably fucked anyway, poison or not. Last but not least was a prototype, the Nanites called it. Combining what they'd found about horned animals like deer, gazelle, goats, etc., with other shit like some wolverine frog, they created some weird shit. Essentially, it was a bone that could shoot out of his elbow, out from next to the bundle of nerves you call the funny bone. It was the size of a small knife and wasn't all that sharp, but with enough force it'd be useful as a last-ditch weapon. He was pretty sure they'd added it due to the ambush that involved him losing his guns. The only shit part about it was the fact he'd need to shed the bone once extended. He wasn't a superhero. He couldn't retract it into his body after the fact. Not without surgery, at least. After being used, it'd take a day or two to regrow. Some date. You want me to grab a mirror so you can jerk it to yourself? Rebecca sourly remarks as he continued to stare at himself. Hey, just admiring the goods. You've got good taste? He cheekily responds, flexing his arm. I'm still surprised, though. Thought you would have taken us someplace where you could dance. He adds, glancing around the shabby bar with little to no guests. Rebecca rubs the back of her head. Aha! Oh yeah? She awkwardly laughs but trails off as data fills her eyes. 1 minute, she says, grabbing her drink and getting to her feet. Chapter 152, Coerced. 1 minute. Ori mutters, watching her walk towards the bar and trip, spilling her drink on some big Russian guy.
Ashay.
What the fuck? Oh.
Sorry.
I'm so clumsy. She giggles in a cutesy manner, one she generally saves for teasing and sarcasm. She proceeds to try and wipe the drink off, but Ori's brow twitches when she goes for the crotch, causing the guy's eyes to bulge. Hey, the fuck you're doing to my girl? Ori growls as he stands, wondering what Rebecca was playing at. Your girl? She came on to me, the guy shouts back, pushing Rebecca away and marching up to Ori and standing over him. You want to go, you dumb fucking gorilla? Ori spits. I'll cut you open and leave you in Chinatown. See how long it'd take for them to serve you in kebabs. Doubt it though, even they don't serve shit dash. He ducks under the brute's wild punch and hits him with an uppercut to the sternum, momentarily lifting him off of the ground. The guy gasps, stepping back while holding his chest. I'll fucking kill you, he shouts, grabbing a bottle from the bar and throwing it. Ori easily catches it but wasn't expecting the guy to straight tackle him. Both land on the floor, but before the guy can start punching, Ori grips the guy in a headlock, twisting around and maneuvering into a straight armbar. Had enough? Why, you're gonna fucking regret this. Do you know who I am? Don't care. Give up or I'll break it. Ugly piece of shit. Gur dash, that's it, the guy roars, rolling and pinning his arm to his chest while slipping his pistol out of his jacket. He tries to fire a shot into Ori's side but gets a boot to the face, courtesy of Rebecca. No guns in a fist fight. Sore loser, she exclaims with a blush on her cheeks. Was she getting off on watching him beat some dude up? Fuck you, bitch. He tries to point his gun at Rebecca, but Ori stops it with a hook kick that sends him to the dream world. Ori rolls off of the guy and gets to his feet with a sigh. Becca, the fuck was that? Would you believe it if I said I wanted to watch you beat some gonk in my defense? She asks, pulling him down by his shirt and kissing him. He pulls back, taking the chance to slap her ass as he does so. I would, if you hadn't phrased it like that. What's the real reason? She presses a finger to her lips in the universal sign for silence. I'll tell you, but not here. Come on. We've got a party to get to. Fine, but if I don't like your answer, you'll do what? Spank me? She giggles, giving the barman a big tip before skipping away. You gonna spit it out yet? Ori questions as he turns his Mizutani around a corner, doing his best to not give into the temptation to drift it. Well, that was kinda a gig from Maine. Said he needed someone to distract that guy while they got to work. I volunteered you too. Works better and makes it look more natural if you knock his ass out. She grins. He glances at her in disbelief. Really? You couldn't just tell me? I love you, Ori, but you're a terrible actor. Remember when we were undercover as baristas in that cafe? You glared at everyone like they owed you money. They did. Guys thought they could get by without paying for their drinks. He grumbles in response. The store had been reserved and paid for. All the drinks were free. She drawls, and he looks in embarrassment. He hadn't heard about that part until after the gig, which they'd barely gotten through by the skin of their teeth. Where's my cut then? I dare say I did more work than anyone else. Plus 2,400. That it? He blinks. You know how Maine rolls. Split even between everyone. Plus, he's got some fresh off the street rookie too. A rookie? Hasn't he got enough people already? Dorio, Pilar, Kiwi, Lucy, Falco. Then he's got you on retainer. Sounds to me like he's building an army. You guys aren't planning on storming the Corpo Plaza, are you? Once is enough for me. And no, I think he just likes helping peeps, even if he'd never admit it. Whatever, this the place? Ori ganders, spotting cars and people lined up outside Turbos. People step out of the way as he parks, stepping out.
Oi.
Ain't seen you in a dog's year. Maine exclaims, walking over and wrapping a big arm around his shoulder. Nice ride, by the way. Oh no, you're not getting off that easy. You tricked me into a gig. Hey, you didn't have to do much, just beat some gunk up and get paid. Sides, Rebecca said you'd be chill with it. Maine states, rubbing the back of his neck. Ori sends a glance at Rebecca, causing her to whistle and walk off. He shakes his head. It was fine this time, but I'd rather know what I'm getting into. What was the gig anyway? Maine shrugs. Got hired to collect some NAV info from a suits car. I admit, I was freaking out when the guy started for his car, but it turned out easy when you knocked his ass out. Nice job, by the way. You had me fight some corpo? He asks, baffled. He was already on the shit list of one corp. Adding another wasn't something he was aiming for. Which corp? He can't help but ask. Arasaka. Arasaka, he yelps. Chill out. Kiwi steps out, pressing an ice-cold beer to his cheek. Guy was so embarrassed about losing like that he kept quiet about it. Claimed he was drunk out of his gourd when his boss asked. If he didn't any better, he'd say she was grinning under that face mask of hers. Ori sighs, taking the drink. Whatever. S long as it worked out in the end. Just don't do it again. I don't trust my luck. Hee hee, that's the spirit. Maine laughs. Chapter 153, Party 4. What? What's with the party anyway? You don't do this after every gig, do you? Ori can't help but ask, spotting Pilar juggling some trays of drinks for some reason. It's Pilar. Offers to pay for the first round and invite anyone he can, likes being the center of attention. Kiwi remarks, flicking ash from her cig. Sounds to me like you don't even want to be here.
Ori wonders aloud.
I'm here, aren't I? That's enough. Socializing with these other drunk idiots doesn't do it for me. So what does then? People watching, she ganders unconvincingly. Right. And I'm the CEO of Arasaka. He drawls in response. She stomps out her cig and shrugs. I got my vices, you got yours. Go play around if you want, but I'm fine staying here. Ori's retort is cut off by Rebecca, who walks over while dragging some kid with spiky hair and a yellow jacket. Look what I found.
Achei.
I'll let go. The boy protests but wasn't willing to utilize any strength against the small girl. I seem to recall someone saying something about not picking up strays. Ori sarcastically questions. Well, he's Maine's stray. So there, she huffs. Ori gives the kid an appraising look. Him? He's scrawnier than I was. He can't help but comment on his stick-like figure. And who are you? Some gonk who didn't even make it into Maine's crew. The boy sourly responds, pulling away from Rebecca. Oh, he's got teeth. She giggles, causing him to flush slightly. Maine's great and all, but I've got my own crew. Ori offers. So like, rivals? He trails off, visibly uncomfortable. Ori smirks. We aren't corpos. The only time we'd be rivals is if we accepted conflicting gigs. Even then we wouldn't go as far as shooting each other. I'm surprised he let you in though. Out of all the other mercs he picks you. You sure he doesn't want you dead? Name's David. His form blurs momentarily, then he's suddenly holding Ori's beer. And yeah, I got what it takes.
Ori crux abrau. Sandevistan?
Where'd you get one of those? And how are you not passed out on the ground? He's full of surprises actually. Maine said he can use it like nobody's biz. Rebecca adds, causing David to straighten his posture. He tries to sip the beer but chokes slightly, obviously unfamiliar with alcohol. Guess I'm just built different. David shrugs, looking away under Ori's analytical gaze. Ori shakes his head. Yeah, heard that one before. I'm Ori, by the way. I assume you've met Rebecca?
Enads. Ya.
She introduced herself before she grabbed me. Go on. I'm sure Pilar would love the company. Ori shoos him off, gesturing at Pilar who challenged Dorio to a chugging contest. Yeah, I'll do that. David awkwardly says, shuffling away. David walks away and spots Lucy with a free chair next to her. He plucks up his courage and tentatively sits, only then realizing he still had Ori's beer. Clearing his throat, He leans onto the table and draws her attention. What's that guy's problem? He asks, nodding over at Ori, who seemed to be scolding Rebecca. Who, Ori? Lucy wonders. Nothing. Maybe a bit pissed he got set up without anyone telling him. Set up? He ended up being the distraction we needed to grab the NAV data. His output tricked him into it. She smiles into her drink. Output? Her? David questions unsurely. She didn't exactly look in his age range. Ori's actually a year younger than you, you know? Rebecca's the same age, though. What? How long's he been a punk then? Is he one of those guys who started off as kids? Lucy shrugs. A year probably? I never asked. David sighs, feeling jealousy creeping up. Sounds like you guys know each other well? Lucy side-eyes him with a slight upturn of her lips. We've done some gigs with him, that's all. Not much anymore, though, with how high risk he's been getting. What do you mean? Lucy shrugs. Ask him if you want. She lifts her drink, but finds it empty. Could you dash? Got it, he says, grabbing the glass and quickly making his way to a stall for a refill. She sighs, watching the team get overcharged by the street vendor. How long would it take until he got flatlined? She wondered to herself. Receiving call. Unidentified. Ori drops his feet from the couch and sits up, yawning as he turns off the TV. All right, $10 on another assassin. He mutters to himself as he picks up. Hello? Hello? A familiar voice Ori hadn't wanted to hear from speaks up in a low tone. Ori? She asks again, louder this time. Christy? He grouses as the holoscreen opens up, revealing the BD star as she drives along some road he didn't recognize. Let me guess, you've reached the age where all of your fans drop you for another younger, more talented singer? He drawls. What?
No.
It hasn't been that long since we spoke, and my fans wouldn't do that either, she abashedly retorts. Really? 'Cause that's the only reason I can think for you calling me. Unless it's to finally confess? And no, I ain't got eddies to send you. I ain't a charity, he states, taking a spiteful satisfaction in the potential reversal of their situations. Not any of that either. I told you I had nothing to do with it, she angrily says before shaking her head. Whatever, I know you'll never take my word, so let me just get to the point. You're a merc, right? How'd you guess? It's not like you tried to broadcast it to everyone you know. He rolls his eyes. You're lucky people haven't looked into it properly, or I'd have come for payback already. Christy visibly sighs over the call. Listen, I want to hire you, Dash.
No.
Go FUCK yourself. Ori spits, hanging up the call. Why Dash? Beep. Dumb cunt. Who the fuck does she think she is? Chapter 154, Black Truths. Receiving call. Unidentified. Really? He mutters to himself, wondering how many phones she clept to keep calling his number. Maybe he should find some software that could ban her contact whenever she tried to call. Beep. Will you stop calling my phone like some psycho stalker girlfriend? I don't want to fucking work for you. I don't want to speak to you. I don't want to even acknowledge your existence. Get it?
Seriously, Ori.
I need your help. You're the only person I can trust here. She pleads, desperation clear on her face.
Fuck no.
50,000. I'll pay 50K, she blurts out, causing Ori's protestation to trail off. 50K? What kind of gig are you peddling? You want me to zero your boss or something? She pauses. Not quite? Well, you gotta be pretty fucking convincing if you want me anywhere near you. What is it? Christy wets her lips and tentatively looks around the outside of her car. My bandmates, I need you to get rid of them. Ori snorts. Yeah, I should have expected that. Want a rat, always a rat. Ain't that right?
No.
It's me or them. They've been trying to get rid of me for a while now, but I've finally had enough. A group of men got into my apartment and smashed it to pieces. They killed my cleaner too. And you know for certain it was them, huh? He asks, still dubious. She nods determinedly. I do. I know it's them. I might not have proof, but I don't need it. Once they're gone, the attacks will stop. Ori leans back into his couch. Why me? And don't think I believe that shit about trust. That ship got a Viking funeral. No, I mean it. You're the only one I can trust with this. Everyone else I can talk to might be on their payroll. You're the only one I know isn't with them. You know? He sarcastically asks. She firmly nods. I know. I watched you grow up. I understand how you work, even if I don't get why you think I'm such a murderous bitch. People change. You of all people should know that. Ori replies with a slight scowl. No, they don't. Christy says with a sigh. Your contacts found anything about my sis? He can't help but ask, spite bubbling up from his chest. She shakes her head. No, sorry. I looked into it, but apparently she was being held by the tiger claws. That's old news, though. She quietly admits. Huh, so she did try? Or maybe it's still an act. Then again, there was that thing with Rogue info that may reveal the truth of things. If he accepted, then he could choose to zero Christy if she turned out to be what he thought. Plus, 50K wasn't something to scoff at. I'll think about it. I'll contact you if I end up accepting, he decides. Be quick about it. I don't know how much time I have left, she says as he ends the call. Beep. He rubs the bridge of his nose while mentally shooting Rogue a text. That info you have on Ksenia, I'll buy it.
Oi.
Was starting to think you didn't want it. Hit me up with 10k EDS and I'll send you a shard. Rogue.
10k.
It was 6 last time.
Oi.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Supply and demand. Rogue. Fine. Have your fucking eddies. Bitch.
Oi.
Dash 10,000. Love you too, zombie. A bot's in transit with your package. Just leave a window open or something. Rogue. You know where I live?
Oi.
I know where your friend's cat shits. That a surprise? Rogue. You know, when I called you a bitch, I meant that in a big sister kind of way. Ori. Funny. Now fuck off and let me work. Rogue. Beep. I get how she knows the apartment, but the fact that Sasha had a cat? Does she keep an eye on all of our transactions or something? Does she call Sasha if she forgets to buy cat food or some shit? Thud. Ori's hand automatically draws his revolver and aims it at the window, where a robot was continually pushing itself against the glass, trying to find entry. That was quick. He opens a panel and allows the flying robot inside, watching as it drops a small parcel on the sofa before then crashing into the window again. Is the AI designated housefly or something? He mutters to himself, opening yet another panel to let it leave. All right, let's see what Rogue had. He opens the parcel and inserts the chip after performing a preliminary virus check. His eyes flash with data for a couple minutes, eventually leaving him with a prominent scowl. What the fuck? This? He runs a hand through his hair. No. All for nothing then? Just a huge bunch of coincidences? The information held in the shard was as convoluted as it was simple. Among the gangs there, only a single group had actually been there for Ksenia. The Animals, Tiger Claws, and Maelstrom. Only the Tigers had actually been there for the shantytown. The reason? To help Arasaka install a fucking subway system. One to ship cargo to, and from the shipyard and other places. They'd planned to destroy the whole place just for that reason, because they couldn't be fucked to dig out another tunnel. The worst part about all of it? Maelstrom, Ksenia's ever-present enemies, had been the ones to turn up in defense of the place. They were defending their turf, their property, what they saw as their people. As for the Animals? Well, he hadn't been completely wrong in his judgment. They were there for Christie, hired to abduct her apparently. Didn't that sound familiar? That crazy old man had nothing to do with any of it. It wasn't retaliation for what Ori had done. The Animals moved in to try and extract Christie, who'd not turned up that day. The Tigers had taken the opportunity to raise the settlement, and Maelstrom had attempted to defend it. Chapter 155, Stardom. It takes a while for Ori to process the news, going over the shard another couple of times to make sure he hadn't missed anything. Still, reality remained the same. He was somewhat relieved to know the truth, along with the fact he hadn't been the cause. But in the end, it left him feeling hollow. The death of his family hadn't been some grand scheme, some retaliation, but because multiple groups wanted something they had. Christie hadn't even known she was being hunted at that point, apparently, so it wasn't her fault either. He habitually chews his nails, wondering if Rogue knew the names of the animals he needed to kill. The suit in Arasaka who'd paid the Tiger Claws too. The gang itself would also get his attention. Wakako's offer was probably still on the table. Fine, he'd accept the gig. But while Christie wouldn't die, he'd get some payback for her role in it all. See how she likes suffering in silence for once. Group chat created. Ori, Rebecca, Sasha, guys, we've got a gig. Meet up at my place.
Oi.
Really? I thought this was our day off. Rebecca, DW about her. She just mad her nails won't get done. OWO, Sasha, you said you wouldn't tell him. And did you just fucking OO? What are you 5? Rebecca, what? I think it's cute. And I also say, I wouldn't say anything to him. This is text. Sasha, aren't your nails usually painted, Rebecca? And if you're in the same place, why are you arguing over group chat?
Oi.
I'm standing outside the store. And she didn't want me to say anything about her black nails. Sasha, you didn't just say that. Rebecca, black? Funny, aren't you the one who keeps calling me emo?
Oi.
Fuck you. And you traitor cat. Rebecca, we'll be down there in 10, Sasha. Rebecca has left the group. Why don't we just get her to pay up front and, Rebecca puts a finger gun to her head. Boosh. She mouths in the passenger seat of the truck. Because, while she's a bitch, she wasn't completely responsible for Ksenia. Don't worry, I've got my own plans for her. Ori assures, turning into the parking lot where they'd been requested to meet at. Come on, back me up here, cat? Rebecca asks, glancing over her seat. I'm with Ori, no point in risking our rep like that. Besides, isn't it his choice what to do with her? You'd want to choose how to deal with your grudge, wouldn't you? Rebecca waves her off. I'm just saying is all. Ori pulls up in the empty lot and turns the truck off. He could only see a single empty sports car in the far corner, so it looked safe enough. You seem to be forgetting something. Her gig lines up with my intentions anyway. Her bandmates hired the animals which killed my dad. With this, we're killing 3 birds with 1 stone. You mean 2, right? Sasha queries. He shakes his head. 3. So, when's the client coming? She asks. Is that her? Rebecca points out at the colorfully dressed woman walking towards them from across the street. Tan skin, pink hair and eyes. Yep, that's her. He nods as he locks eyes with the woman. She quickens her pace and all but barges into the back of the truck, closing the door and patting the shoulder of his seat. Let's get out of here. She gestures at the sports in the lot. I don't want to risk driving that right now. She admits. Ori crooks a brow. What? You think they planted a bomb? That isn't animal style. They're exploring now that they've screwed up 3 times, she states. But if you want proof. She pulls out a key and unlocks the sports car from a distance. The lights flicker, indicating the change, but nothing else happens. Looks like you're just being paranoid. That porn star lifestyle of drugs and sex finally hitting you. Rebecca wonders aloud. I'm hardly a porn star. Yeah, right. I've seen the private sites posting prices. Almost every BD star was on there. Wait, what? Becca, there's something you're not telling me? Ori can't help but voice. What? No, that's when I lived with my bro. Pilar went through a phase. She admits, uncaring about spilling her brother's secrets. Christy just folds her arms. Well, I never did any of that. They tried, but I have standards. If you want to talk about whores, talk to my bandmates. There probably isn't a suit in the city that hasn't had a go at them. She shakes her head mirthfully. I overheard them talking about one guy who wanted to sure dash. Boom. Christy's car abruptly goes up in flames, leaving a huge billowing cloud of smoke from the fireball. Huh. Must have been a timer then. Rebecca casually remarks. Who cares? Just drive before those goons get here. Christy exclaims, pale at the 4th attempt on her life. Not needing to hear it again, Ori spins the truck around and drives away. Sticking around for the animals would force a confrontation, but that would probably alert Christy's bandmates. Not to mention the NCPD, which'd investigate the explosion anyway. Talk while I drive. I want to know about our targets, he states. Christy takes a moment to calm down, before beginning to detail her bandmates. Sheila Curves and Faye Yono. She snorts to herself. Both stage names. They're actually called Julie Miriam and Sophie Francis, and they're both dumb whores. She can't help but add. Very descriptive. Ori drawls. Anything actually worth saying? Home address, common locations, a party coincidentally happening tomorrow. The usual? I don't know. I missed our last recording session because of their goons. I've never been to their places and I have no idea what their hobbies are. So you want us to do it blind? Rebecca asks with a dull glare. I mean, I'm paying you to do the research, aren't I? I may not know much about punks, but I know 50,000 is a big payday for you. Christy states. Chapter 156. Targeted Advertisement. Ori drives to one of the crew's hideouts, which was technically Quentin's, but he doesn't really care if they use it or not. After parking the truck, they gather in the large main room, and Ori pulls a couple drinks from the bar. All right, so you want your bandmates dead. Give us something to work with. I seriously doubt you know nothing when it comes to their schedule. Literally anything can be used, so leave nothing out. Air. Faye likes to have her brother chauffeur her around? Christy says in a tone more questioning if that was useful than anything else. He contracted? Merc? Related to any gangs? When does he usually come to pick her up? Ori lists off a number of basic questions. I think he's solo? I doubt Faye would be willing to pay through a contractor since they're family. Her schedule is never the same either. The last recording session I did was in the late afternoon. The one before that was in the morning. It's just whether we can book it or not. Rebecca swipes the cocktail Ori had just made and glances at Sasha. Think you can clep that list? You know, for the bookings? Sasha shrugs. Doubt it. Those things are under lock and key for a reason. Where's the studio? Ori inquires. Mediapad in City Central, above the Ripper Dock on the west side. That asshole? Rebecca wonders aloud. Something to say? Ori probes. She nods with a severe frown. Guy's a hack. Charges twice the usual for cyberware and fucks up every other job. Only stays where he is because he's a corpo stooge. Pretty sure he tells everyone who has ears what Chrome people get. Is patient confidentiality not a thing? Christy asks, looking uncomfortable. Probably used his services in the past then. In the med center maybe, but almost every Ripper Doc is unlicensed. Otherwise you just call them doctors, Rebecca remarks. There's a reason people generally only use one Ripper they trust, aside from the risks of letting someone mess with your body. Sasha adds, good thing he had bats on call. Whatever, about the building. Any security we should know about? Ori questions. Rebecca interjects before Christy has a chance. Obviously, the Ripper Doc alone needs a bunch of goons to stop his chrome getting stolen. Add this studio above that, and I doubt anyone's getting in without shooting it up first. Christy nods. That sounds about right. There's a garage in the back we'd usually get in through, but there's cameras everywhere. We're not the only people who use it either, so the guards might vary. Okay, leave that as a plan B then. What about concerts or shows? When's your next one? He asks. Got a concert in Little China in a month. As for shows, well, we did have an ad deal scheduled with Nicola, but I'd probably die if I tried it. Ori glances between his companions, and after a silent conversation, he turns back to the BD star. You're going. You'll take Sasha with you as a bodyguard. Why he? Rebecca speaks up. Because you and me are way more recognizable than she is. There's a lot more sexy girls with black hair than there is ghosts or zombies. He points between them, plus, she'll be able to do a lot more on the inside. It isn't like we'll not be around either. But we can't just kill them there. Everyone will know I did it. Christy protests. We don't have to kill them then? Sasha assures. I can sneak a tracker on them while I'm there. You do your ad, we leave, then we do our job later. But, won't they think something's wrong with an unknown bodyguard? They'll check you. Sasha shrugs. Fake IDs are easy to get. It'll take hours for them to falsify it, unless they have a team of Netrunner working on it, which I doubt. By then we'd be out. What if something goes wrong? Christy mutters, fearful of the consequences should their deception be discovered. Me and Rebecca will be waiting nearby. If shit really hits the fan, we'll just kidnap you. Your bandmates won't say shit unless they want their dealings caught. Hell, they'd probably assume we were their hired guns. After that, hopefully, someone will pay our ransom, and then we'll continue on flatlining our targets. Ori offers. Christy tilts her head in thought. That sounds like it might work. You guys work fast. Obviously. Rebecca kicks her feet up. We're not rookies. Wait, there's something else? Christy mutters, causing everyone but Sasha to groan. What now? No, wait, let me guess. You want us to make it look like accidents? Rebecca guesses with a sour expression. Christy shakes her head. That would be nice, but I think getting rid of both of them at once is the only way to go. If one of them goes missing, then the other will hide in a bunker somewhere. Plus, if they both get killed one by one, and I'm left standing, it'll look too suspicious. Ori sighs, 60,000. You can't keep adding conditions to this without upping the price. He grouses. Fine, but I want it done my way. She stubbornly folds her arms. Pay up front. You're already using our resources to hide, he retorts. Half now, half later. Ori nods. When's this ad deal happening? 3 days at noon. Good, then we'll have some time to prep. He glances at his companions. You two get on that. I'll go asking our friends what they know about the targets. What should I do until then? Christy questions. Unless you want to risk dying or paying us more, sit tight and do nothing here till shit's resolved. But what? You want to do a meet and greet? Go ahead. Just don't blame me when more than just your fans turn up. He sneers. Chapter 157. Rookie Once. Investigating is more annoying than it is difficult, at least in Ori's experience. Since he personally didn't have a spy or information network set up, it mostly consisted of asking around people in the know or negotiating prices on the intel. Obviously, when dealing with a more subtle gig like the one they were doing for Christy, discretion was very important, leaving him with few options to pursue. His choices were literally only Quentin, Judy, Regina, and Rogue, the latter of which he refused to deal with unless it was vital. Giving that bitch an inch meant she'd end up taking your car for a 100-mile joyride. His fixer friends didn't know anything about Sheila or Faye, unfortunately, leaving them with their original, unaltered plans. Sasha had already acquired a fake identity, and Rebecca had already staked out the studio where the Nicola ad would take place. Christy was, unsurprisingly, incredibly annoying to deal with in the meantime. Since they were still technically being paid to protect her, Ori had been hassled into sticking around the hideout to make sure no one discovered her location. To be honest, there was more of a risk of her doing something stupid than the former occurring. The last thing they need was for her to do a selfie and accidentally display the place's address. She had, of course, been ordered to keep off of the net. Her bandmates likely thought she was dead, giving them the element of surprise. After all, they were probably looking to do the ad without her to cement themselves while removing her credibility. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, until a day before the operation was a go, when Ori got a text from someone unknown. Yo, Ori, right? Could we meet up? You can pick the place, I don't mind. Oh? Who's asking? Ori, it's me. You know, David? We met at the party like a week ago? David. The rookie? Ori, I guess. Look, I know we don't know each other, but I'd appreciate it. David, what's this about? Ori, I just want to talk. About Merc stuff. David, haven't you got a whole crew for that? Just ask Maine. Ori, I want to keep this away from the crew. Can we just meet up? It'll be easier to explain. David, fine, but if this is some kind of trick, be prepared for a fight. Meet me outside Lizzie's. Ori, the BD club? You sure? David, yeah, I'll be there in 10. Ori, beep. Ori stands from the couch and steps past Christy, who was doing some kind of yoga stretching in front of the TV. Headed out, try not to die. What? What about my protection? I'm sure your yoga moves'll handle like one guy. The rest'll probably be too busy seeing how far you can stretch to notice me get back. Ori chuckles. Wait dash. Thud. I can't believe he just left like that. By the time Ori parks his Mizutani outside, Lizzie's his acquaintance was already there, awkwardly standing some distance from the Mox guarding the door in his yellow jacket. Hey dash, he starts, but Ori holds up a hand. We'll talk inside. He walks past, giving a nod to Crystal as he tries to enter. Wait, the kid yours? He don't look old enough for it. She stops him, gesturing at David, who had his hands stuffed into his pockets. Like you guys care about age, mind your biz. He's with me in Maine, he assures, and she allows them both through. Once inside, Ori grabs a couple drinks and slides into a booth, David sitting opposite. So, what's the biz? He asks, dropping one drink in front of the rookie. David sighs and shifts uncomfortably. I wanted your advice, he admits after a moment. Advice? Again, you could just ask Maine. He's been in the game longer than I have dash. No, I've bothered him enough already. He's got Lucy helping me out, but it's obvious he wants me out of his hair. I dog him anymore, and he might just get rid of me, especially after yesterday. He grumbles into his drink, taking a sip and grimacing. And what happened yesterday? Ori probes. You don't see? David questions, pulling back his hair and revealing the freshly stitched wound just below his hairline. Took a bat to the face by a scav. Everyone else handled it so easy. Feels like a total gonk. And so you come to me since I'm not in the immediate group. Ori guesses. He shrugs. Basically, but I heard you're pretty new to it too. Younger than me even. Though, David tilts his head at Ori's rather large frame. Unless you're chromed out of your mind. I find that hard to believe. Says the stick with a Sandovistan. Ori snickers. I can give you some advice, but don't hound me like I'm Maine. I've got shit to do too, you know. He offers, thinking back to all the times Max and Six helped train him. First, let's see your iron. Iron, you mean gun? Sorry, I don't have one. David states. Don't have one? What are you even doing then? Ori shakes his head. What did you do back when Maine had me as a distraction? David rubs the back of his head. Honestly, nothing. I watched Lucy hack the car, then we dealt it. That was it. He sighs, I've got to prove myself, but if I keep fucking up, I won't get the chance. Okay, if you don't have a gun, how are you using your Sandovistan? You better not tell me you're just punching people, cause that would be retarded. Ori rubs the bridge of his nose and lets out a long breath. All right, here's the first thing you're gonna do. Buy a knife, sword, whatever, buy a blade. One good slice and you've decomished one guy. Add super speed into it, and you'd already be better than half the punks in the city. Chapter 158. Bubbly. Ori continued to lay out the basics of the job, providing tips he wished he knew when he first started, along with tidbits that'd help him get along with Maine's crew better. He'd worked with them enough to understand how they usually operated. He ended up taking the kid to a shooting range for a gun anyway. Turned out he was a better shot than Ori had been when he first started, though he could still use the practice. Regardless, the rookie would hopefully survive long enough to lose the title. All in all, Ori found David to be a good-natured guy, if somewhat moody and precocious. Someone like that was a good fit for Maine's crew, especially with how he blushed whenever Lucy was mentioned. All in position. Sasha questions over the comms, checking for the last time before things truly start. Yep, we're ready to shoot the place up if needed. Rebecca, just remember the objectives and don't draw attention to yourself. Ori, obviously. Sasha. She glances over her shoulder at Christy, who was wearing her full BD star getup. Colorful, stylish, and flashy enough for the Nicola advert. They were all working on the presumption that the agency considered Christy missing, and thus lacking a proper outfit for her. Why are you sure this is going to work? The singer tentatively questions, nerves for the upcoming event obviously getting to her. High-pressure situations weren't unfamiliar, but obvious subterfuge and assassination attempts definitely weren't her forte. Sasha nods, starting up the executive vehicle they'd rented for this occasion. Don't worry, we'll manage. Christy can only sigh in response, reapplying her lip gloss for the second time today. They arrive at the agency building 10 minutes before the ad was scheduled, giving them ample time to get ready for whatever had been set up. Sasha parks the car in one of the offered spots and steps out, revealing her black suit, shoulder-length hair, and black shades which concealed her colored contact lenses. She'd even had her face tattoos covered with makeup to make identifying her even more difficult. Even Ori had difficulty recognizing her with the full disguise on, which was good enough for her. She opens Christie's door as some guards from the building walk over to intercept the unscheduled arrival, only for them to freeze as the BD star steps out, obviously recognizing her. She gracefully flicks her hair and sends a cold look at them. Is something wrong? Oh no, we just weren't expecting you so early, Mist Clert. The lead one pipes up as the other turns away and speaks into his radio. If you wouldn't mind, my client has an appointment to attend. Sasha stepped in, arm outstretched while the other was ready to draw a firearm. Apologies, do you know the way, or do you want an escort? That will not be necessary. Christy states in a dull tone. I've been here before. She walks past as Sasha shadows her. They acquire the studio number from the reception and make their way up, finding a surprised camera crew who'd been under the presumption that she'd been absent. Have Sheila and Faye not arrived yet? She haughtily questions while trying to spot the Nicola consultant, which was fairly easy considering he was the only one wearing a suit more expensive than most of the camera equipment present. Not yet. Their drivers messaged us that they will be late. Traffic apparently. It's good to see my missed clerk. I was told you'd not be able to attend today. I'm Bayer Michaels, by the way. A pleasure to make your acquaintance, the director says, smiling lasciviously as his eyes run up and down her form. Your outfit still leaves a little to be desired, though. I'll have the costume girls get something more suited for what I have planned. And what would that be? She glances at the setup scene. To her chagrin, it was almost completely pink with bubble machines already powered. I'm planning on having you three do some dancing. We'll be able to do 3 independent ads at different price points if we split them up afterwards. The full one will be shown on TV networks as well, of course. He glances at Sasha, who was still hovering behind Christy. You can take a seat somewhere. No harm will come to her in this place. I assure you. Sasha glares at him from behind her shades, causing the man to straighten slightly. I'll be the judge of that. Her safety is my responsibility for the time being. You do your work. I'll do mine. Is that understood? She states, carefully choosing her words in order to not reveal her accent. Yes, I believe that will be fine. The door to the studio opens, and he turns to it with a large grin as Sheila and Faye step in. Ah, you're finally here. Let's get started, shall we? Of course, the duo freeze in place when they spot Christy, both paling slightly as she smiles naively at them. Hey, I haven't seen you two in days. Christy cheerfully greets them, pulling both into an awkward hug. Neither knew how to react to the strangely chipper girl who they'd tried to have killed.
Ya.
Good to see you too, Christy. Faye pats her bandmate on the back. We were just wondering where you'd been. You haven't gotten into any trouble, have you? Not the police, I hope. Sheila gasped, acting as if she was trying to win an Oscar with this performance. Christy pulls back and shakes her head. No, nothing like that. I've just had some security problems. She gestures at Sasha. Say hi to my sexy bodyguard. She smiles. Sasha gives a brief nod. I have been charged with her safety until these strange attacks have been resolved. Ah, well, I wish you luck. I'd be horrified if anything actually happened. Sheila throws her arms around her bandmate's shoulders. After all, we're a team. Things just wouldn't be the same. Faye hurriedly nods. We wouldn't have made it so far without each of us. Guys, Christy tearfully exclaims, hugging them both, impressing Sasha at how readily the singer could tear up on command. Chapter 159. Uncoppered Espionage. Sasha stands a good distance away as Christy and her bandmates step out of the dressing room in what could only be described as bikinis. While they were very stylized and obviously designed for the respective stars, it was obvious the director cared less about the advert and more about getting a better look at them, as the guy directs them in the specific dances, poses, and other movements he wishes them to make. Sasha contacts Ori and Rebecca through the group chat. Problem: I don't think I'll be able to slip anything on them. She tried to gain access to their clothes in the dressing room, but it would be far too noticeable with how many people were around. I think having Christy plant the tracker would be the easier way. Sasha: don't they have handbags, or something you can just drop it into? Rebecca: no, anything like that they must have left in their cars. You able to do anything from your end? Sasha: not with how many cams they got set up, plus the guards watching the cars. No chance.
Oi.
Think we could tail the cars themselves? Sasha: maybe, but she wants both gone at once. We need better intel than just their address for that.
Oi.
I'll try work it out on my end then. Let me know if anything comes up. Sasha pushes off of the wall and walks over to the break room as Christy and her bandmates take a break from dancing. She grabs a drink and offers it to her while opening a private comm with her. Plans have changed. We need you to plant the tracker on them. Christy blinks erratically and almost chokes on her drink. How am I supposed to do that? Once you have finished with the ad and gotten dressed again, I'll have you to trackers. Just hug your friends again and drop it into a pocket or something. Sasha: what if I get caught? Christy: then we'll need to run. Are you going to do it or no? Sasha: fine, but be ready if I screw up. Christy: hey, break's almost over. You ready to go again? Sheila questions as she walks over, chewing on some sort of low-fat protein bar. Christy nods and stands, handing the bottle of water back to Sasha. Get me something sweet next time. Got it? She bossily states before walking away. And who might you be? A dull voice asks, almost scaring Sasha enough to let out a yelp. She turns and finds herself face to face with the Nicola representative, the consultant in charge of observing the development of the advert. "Excuse me," she responds, attempting to buy more time with which to compose herself. "I asked who you are. I don't recall seeing any security company on the non-disclosure list." The man's eyes flash with data, signifying that he was attempting to verify things. Sasha mentally curses, "I am Miss Christy Clertis' bodyguard for today. I haven't signed any agreements with anyone else but her. Rest assured, my contract restricts the dissemination of anything I see or hear today. Not that I have an interest in such things. I am well aware of how dangerous committing corporate espionage would be on my person. Would it be possible to view your contract with Miss Clert?" Sasha shakes her head. "I'm sure you'd understand that agreement with my clients is strictly confidential." "HM? Good. It seems my fears were unfounded. Miss Clert does have something resembling a brain." The man sniffs and turns, not probing any longer. Sasha lets out a breath of relief that her precautions had been enough to fool him. To be honest, she hadn't considered anything concerning the venue, so she'd been lucky to get off like this. An hour or two passes when the director claps his hands, signaling the end of the session. "That's great, girls. I think we got what we needed." He twirls a hand in the air. "All right, time to clean up. We need to be out of here before that drama show arrives." The girls step off of the stage and head to the dressing room, and Sasha hands Christy a bottle of cola while also sliding the trackers into her palm. Once dressed, Christy approaches her bandmates with a huge grin. "That was great. I'm sure the Nicola rep was satisfied with it too." "Of course. Were there any doubts?" Sheila casually remarks. "No, I just didn't think we'd get it all done in one day." Christy beams and suddenly wraps the duo into a hug. They awkwardly return it, and are completely oblivious when she drops the chip-sized trackers into their back pockets. I can't wait for the next concert. Are you guys as excited as me?" Faye awkwardly ends the hug. "Definitely. We'll blow our fans away," she says, but trails off when she notices Sheila getting called over by the director. "Seems like he has some extra work for me. I'll see you girls later. Maybe we can meet up and catch a drink?" Christy nods. "Sure. Drop me the time and place and I'll be there." "Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die." Christy rests a hand on her chest and breathes deeply as she sits in the back of the rented car. "Yeah, well, you did it. Congratulations." Sasha drawls, tossing her shades into the glove box and pulling up the tracker data via her interface. Trackers online. Faye is on the move and Sheila dash. She trails off as the person herself steps out of the building hand in hand with the director. Has plans with the director. Doesn't surprise me. I wonder how much he paid her to get a taste. Christy shrugs, folding her legs. "Hey, wouldn't it have been easier to tail them? They're going to take off their clothes sometime today. Then the trackers will be worthless." Sasha shakes her head. "They're not just trackers. They also work as private LAN devices I can piggyback off of. Once they're asleep, I'll access their personal devices and install my own software." Chapter 160. The climax? "Okay, Sash. When I asked for an update, I didn't mean this." Ori throws a hand at the holoscreen showing Sheila getting railed by the director. She shrugs. "Yeah, well, I didn't expect there to be a cam pointed directly at the bed. Besides, can't we use this later for blackmail?" Rebecca snorts. "For the girl, maybe. The guy take it as a badge, though. Should have expected a fugly dude like that to record all his sessions. Probably uses the vids as insurance." Christy nods. "Sounds about right. Most people running entertainment are sleazebags. Can you do anything with this, though?" "I've got access to her phone, so she isn't running anywhere without us knowing. I doubt someone like her would forget and leave it somewhere anyhow." As for Faye, her eyes flash with data and the screen changes, broadcasting a video from what looks like her laptop webcam. "HM. Looks like she's calling some friends of yours." "Friends?" Christy parrots. "She means the assassins, you gonk cheerleader." Rebecca grins. Sasha nods. "I'll link it up once." UST, asking why you after dealt with her yet? "Do you know how much I've paid you already?" "She should be gone." Faye shouts as she paces back and forth in front of the feed. "We tried all right. We bombed her goddamn car. We tried to jump her at her place. The bitch is slippier than a public bathroom." A gruff voice quickly replies, sounding incredibly irritated. "Yeah? But she's got bodyguards now. How are you gonna deal with that shit?" Faye spits. "She what? And you called us directly? Are you completely fucking gonked out of your mind? What if someone starts investigating? You're leaving a trail of evidence that could fuck us all. And if you don't get rid of her, that's the last thing you gotta deal with. Screw you. Encrypt your shit, or come meet us directly. Otherwise, don't call." Beep. Faye angrily throws her holophone at the wall and begins cursing under her breath. "Fine. I'll do your jobs for you," she shouts as she storms off out of sight. "That was interesting."
Or Drowls.
"The animal guy had some sense at least." Rebecca adds. "That does give us some problems. It sounds like she might try to harm Christy herself." Sasha speculates. Christy straightens in her seat. Air. I just got a text from Faye. What about? She wants to talk about meeting up, the three of us? Rebecca grins. Perfect. She's basically doing our job for us. Just agree to someplace and we'll hit him. That won't work if we want to keep Christie's involvement secret. The first thing they'll do is investigate their communications. Though, Ori thinks to himself and turns to Christie. How'd you feel about getting blown up? You're kidding, right? She asks, questioning both his intelligence and her own for hiring him. He shakes his head. I mean, you'll survive it. I just want you in the vicinity to take some injuries, make it look like all three of you were targeted, but you barely got out alive. Can we think of a way that doesn't involve me getting hurt? She almost pleads. No, that's kind of smart. Investigators will see you arranging the meetup. You come late and only get hit by part of the bomb. If you investigate more, then they'll find Faye and Sheila's attempts to kill you. The most obvious answer is another botched attempt. A mistimed bomb, maybe? Sasha explains. Can't I just snipe them all from a distance then? Hit our girl here in the shoulder or something? Rebecca wonders aloud. No, that'd mean there's a third party involved.
Ori rejects.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with getting bombed. Aren't you supposed to protect me anyway? Who bombs their own clients? She questions, obviously against the plan. Ori can't help but glance at Rebecca. I can think of one person. Hey, that happened before we met. Besides, you guys came up with this plan. Not me. She folds her arms childishly. Ori leans forwards and locks eyes with Christie. Look, we'll make sure we get the correct yield. We'll do tests on dummies, and we'll even be on standby just in case. You have health insurance, right? Then a trauma team will be on site in minutes. Trust me, at most you'll get a few cuts and scratches. I want to see the tests. You got it. I want you to test it too, she continues. He smiles warmly. Sure. He offers as Rebecca stifles her own grin. All right, Faye's on site. Head in, Rebecca. Ori orders as Faye enters the brunch restaurant. She enters casually, taking a seat at a booth directly next to Faye's and placing her purse underneath her seat. She does order some food, of course, a stack of pancakes to be specific. Regardless, while she shovels the sweets into her mouth, Sasha's voice draws his attention. Ori, animals nearby, probably waiting to jump Christie if she shows. She alerts him, showing him the feed of a hacked camera, an alleyway down the street with 3 parked cars filled with the burly Mercs. Unfortunately for them, they lacked a net runner, leaving them sitting ducks for Ori's crew. Is it off then? Christie asks from the back seat of the truck. Ori shakes his head. Nah, I've been meaning to have a chat with them anyway. He states, the chances of them being the very same that killed his father were pretty high considering. He tosses the detonator to Sasha and steps out. You coordinate things from here. I'll deal with our friends. Oh, and get a scrambler set up. Can't risk them alerting the targets. Sasha nods after fumbling with the detonator and breathing a sigh of relief at the safety measures. It'll be up in 5. Good. He grabs Boar but thinks again and tosses it back into the car. No point in starting a shootout in the center of Wellsprings. Besides, the animals were more likely to take it as a direct challenge if he went without. His revolvers would stay, of course. Going completely unarmed would be retarded.